Hello, hello, hello. This is Mark Diaz Truman with the Gauntlet Hangout for Blades in the Dark, the Whitethorn Gang. The pitch for this, for those of you who are just first tuning in, is that these lovely gentlemen here are a family of hawkers, the remnants of a Skovlin merchant family that fell on hard times after the war led them to Akros as refugees. The patriarch of the family just passed, but even before his death, the family had started selling illegal and illicit goods to make ends meet in the city of Duskwall. They've taken up residence in an abandoned house in Coleridge that the locals have called Whitethorn Manor for quite a long time. So their clients and enemies alike have taken to calling them the Whitethorn Gang. Can their family rise to prominence on the backs of their hawking and scheming? Can they make a name for themselves before falling prey to the forces that rule this city? Can they scrape, borrow, and steal enough to build an empire? Or will they be the last of their name, ending the family legacy in the shadows of Duskwall? Welcome to Blades in the Dark, Whitethorn Gang. This is a really awesome game by John Harper called Blades in the Dark. This is our first session, so we're going to spend a little longer than normal today figuring out exactly what the Whitethorn Gang looks like, introducing these characters, making our characters together. So if you're new to Blades, this is a great place to start. Once again, I'm Mark, and let's introduce some of our awesome players. So Chet, why don't we start with you?
Hey, I had a pencil in my mouth. My name is Chet. This is my first time playing Blades, so I'm super excited. I'm going to be playing the Slide.
Cool. The Slide is all about friendly con artistry and disguises and George Clooney-esque behavior. So it's a high bar for Chet.
And he has a cane sword. So
cane sword. Done.
That's kind of what sold it for me.
Excellent. And Fraser, how about you?
I'm Fraser. I produce pocket-sized play for the Gauntlet and recently hacked Blades in the Dark for Hack the Planet, and I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome, cool. And you will be playing which playbook today?
Oh, sorry. I'm going to be playing Lurk playbook, and my character's name is Quest Grind.
Awesome, good, yeah, great. The Lurk is the shadowy second story man / assassin / truly Blade in the Dark, right?
Yeah, exactly. The true Blade in the Dark.
Awesome. Gerrit, how about you?
Gerrit, I'm listening to myself on pocket-sized play, which Fraser is producing like every day at the moment, plus the We Hunt the Keepers, because we played a little bit last year together. I'm new to Blades, and I'm very excited to try it. I'm playing a Whisper, and her name is Tek La Achi, which is Tsutohil, the language of the people of the town I'm currently live in, and means be quiet.
That's perfect. Good. Now, the Whisper is probably the strangest, most supernatural playbook in Blades. Blades is set in the city of Duskwall, which is surrounded by these electric towers that generate a field that keeps out something small. It's just an unending series of ghosts that want to end all of existence. You see, a long time ago, the gates of death themselves were destroyed by the Undying Emperor, and death itself kind of ended. That doesn't mean people don't die. It's a crime fiction game. It means that when they do die, their bodies will spit out a ghost after about 3 days, which means a couple things. Number one, killing people in Blades is a big deal. If you kill someone, the authorities will know almost instantly because there's this tower that rings every time somebody dies, which means that killing folks is a great way to generate heat. If you kill them, there's a raven that flies directly towards them. If you can get rid of the body, the raven will just call it a day. It'll take a break and call it off. But if you don't, the raven's going to eventually lead the spirit wardens to you. And there's really 3 levels of law enforcement in Blades. There's the regular bluecoats, who are kind of like regular cops. They're probably mostly corrupt. They don't know what they're doing. They're inept. They're incompetent. Then there's the inspectors. Think of them as like homicide cops on the wire. They're probably not corrupt. They probably know what they're doing. They're a huge pain in the ass. They're not even from Duskwall, so you can't just kill their family and call it a day. They are a real problem. And then there are spirit wardens. And spirit wardens are like the fucking FBI. They have so much stuff to make your life miserable. So the Whisper is in charge of dealing with ghosts, dealing with strange shit, dealing with traps that are based around ghost technology. You're in charge of sort of dealing with this whole extra level. And our hope is that it doesn't turn into like a Decker and Shadowrun situation where you sit off in a corner for 20 minutes. We're hoping that it's like a fun, exciting, you're with the crew doing things. As my job to make sure that the ghosts and stuff are fun, active challenges. Cool. And finally, last but not least.
My name is Matt. I'm sort of becoming a bit of a Gauntlet regular at this point, but I'm working my way into these whole circles. I have a little bit of experience with Blades, but not too much, so I'm excited to learn things. And today and next week, I'm going to be playing the Hound.
Awesome, cool. So the Hound is our almost like a steampunk or ghost punk ranger, right? You got an animal companion kind of situation. You're good with shooting. You might be the sniper on the building across the street. You might be the guy who comes in to blow something up. You have a kind of tactical force to you. So that this crew, and there might be more people in the family that have not shown up on screen yet today. This crew is going to do jobs, and unlike most crime fiction games like, say, Cartel, the game I wrote, it's not just an unending series of dramas around things that go awry. Your crew can sometimes, not always, but sometimes pull off jobs flawlessly and with great aplomb and have no problems at all. Or more accurately, you'll probably go into jobs, have things go south, fix those things, have more things go south, fix those things too, and then emerge victorious or close to victorious at some cost with the goods and services you wanted to get out of it. Now, our gang, the Whitethorn Gang, I've chosen for this game hawkers, primarily because I think it's a great way to do a rotating cast. So you all are part of a gang of vice dealers, meaning that you don't just break in places and take stuff, although you might do that. You don't just kill people for money, although you might do that too. You don't smuggle things, although occasionally. You mostly make your money by hawking some illicit or illegal substance. And so because of that, your gang is really good at getting product to the people who want to buy it, which may mean that some of your activities will consist of procurement, meaning getting that illicit substance, sales, covert sales, meaning moving that to people who want it, right? Shows of force, defending your territory, and social events, meaning making your territory a better place for selling stuff, right? So in true wire format and narco fiction format, y'all are drug dealers of one sort or another. Cool? Okay. All right, great. So there's a couple things we've already decided. We've got your initial reputation and layer. Because your family started off as like a reputable merchant family at some point in the past when you could still get stuff from Scotland before your father died, you are known as a subtle gang. Over the course of today's session, if you develop a new reputation, meaning you come across as strange, say, Gerrit, or brutal or ambitious, you can earn XP for developing a new reputation. And of course, you can always earn XP as a gang, and your gang earns XP separately for being subtle, doing something that is sort of careful and underhanded and gets the job done. We've also decided already on your lair, which is the Whitethorn Manor. It's secure, but it's not hidden, meaning that other people know where you live and where you do business. And actually, that's a good thing for drug dealers because it's actually hard to make any money if nobody knows where you are or how to find you. Okay, so the Whitethorn Manor is secure, though. It has locks, it has doors that are sealed, it has bars over the windows. We'll talk about what it looks like as we go forward. Okay. But there's a couple of questions that we're going to answer as we go through, and we make a decision as a group. Matthew says, sure, it's a good thing that people know where you are. I mean, it's a good thing, but it has some downsides. There's a couple of things we need to know, which is, first of all, where your hunting grounds are, and what your crew upgrades, or sorry, your special ability is, and what your contacts are like. So I'm going to have different folks make those choices. Normally in Blades, it's like a big discussion, but that can take a long time and it's kind of hard to do online. So I'm going to kind of parcel those out to folks as we go. And I'm going to leave a couple unanswered for next session, okay, so we can continue to build the gang as we go. Cool. Any questions before we jump in?
I think you need to make 2 new characters for people.
Yes, I do. We're using Roll20 for our character sheets, so I will on occasion share my screen so that folks can see what we're doing. Let me add these 2 characters real quick. Let's see. This will go to all players' journals and be editable by Matt.
And then the crew I can't see as well, only just the bio.
All right, let me see if I can get it done. I think you do need access to edit it to show the character sheet.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I think so. That's okay. Let me fix this up real quick. Let's see.
You just click like all players.
I won't add any coins.
I'm gonna add all the best upgrades.
We have all these amazing upgrades.
How did that happen?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and put it to all players. See if y'all can see it then. Cool. How's that?
Yep.
Awesome.
Nice. Man.
Okay. In addition to the other things I forgot, I've actually already chosen your special ability as well. It's the good stuff. Your merchandise is exquisite. The product quality is equal to your tier +2. You begin at tier 0. You're barely a gang, right? Only a gang in name only. And when you deal with a crew or faction, I'm supposed to tell you who among them is hooked on your product. One, a many, a few, many, or all. Okay. Now, let's chat a little bit about your product. It's actually a big part of who you all are. And it's one thing I want us to have consensus around before we start parceling out other pieces. So we've set up this whole thing with your father dying, the war between Skovlin and Akros kind of being a backdrop to your character's dramas. So what are some of the things that you all think would be fun to have as your illicit drugs? Now, I'll say just one or two things about it. Number one, it doesn't have to be realistic at all, right? So like, it doesn't have to be a drug that you snort, smoke, sniff, whatever, like be crazy stuff, right? And in fact, crazy stuff is sometimes more fun because it's more wild and interesting and metaphorical. Two, it should be something where procuring it is not easy, right? Like you want to make sure that you as a gang have access to it, and maybe nobody else does, or nobody else has figured out how to get access to it yet. The more you're like Walter from Breaking Bad, where your stuff is the best and everybody else's stuff is not, the better. Okay, so if you're like, we just pick grass by the side of the road and sell it to people, that is not a substance on which to build a criminal empire, my friends. So let's get some ideas out there. Chet, do you have any ideas about what kind of things your gang might be into?
Oh man, so I have one idea, and I have no idea about what people are thematically interested in, but so angel dust, the real life drug called angel dust.
Yeah.
What if we sold devil dust?
That's great. All right, cool. So it's a strong brand.
And what that is, and this is all from like the theme of the setting, but like in this setting, ghosts are like tangible things. Like they are sort of, you fight them and you're not good at fighting them, but they are scientifically real and they have essence to them. And so what if we figured out a way to like refine ghost essence into like some sort of powder?
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So some things. Number one, there are demons in this game as well. And demons are they're like ghosts, but they're better at communicating with people. Meaning like they have their own wants and desires and needs and maybe gifts to offer. Ghosts tend to be like screaming monstrosities from the void. Just simply being in the room with a ghost, if you're not a whisper, is terrifying. But I love the idea that you're selling it as demon dust, and that what it might really be is ghosts. but like, hey, it's great stuff. So who's going to ask any questions? All right, Math, any thoughts on this? Anything you want to add? Other ideas you want to propose?
I like the idea of somehow linking it to the war that we've just been having. So maybe it was in some way like it either helps people deal with trauma as fallout from the war, or it's either the way we were able to kind of create it or procure it was easy to get in war times, and maybe now it's a little harder to get for us or something. Does anyone have any ideas around that?
The war, where was the war? The war was in Scotland, right?
Yeah, the war was in Scotland. It's kind of like Skovlin said they didn't want to be part of the Empire, and the Empire was like, nah, you're still part of the Empire. That's the kind of war it was.
So maybe something that's like native from Skovlin.
That's cool. Yeah. There's some ingredient or something that's native to Skovlin that had to be brought over. That's cool. Right. Let's get some other ideas. Fraser, how about you?
I don't know. I was thinking it might be cool to hit it as not like so much of a drug, but I'm a little bit struggling to see because my character is coming from the perspective where they're like pleasure and stuff is from a they're like a machinist. So I was
Okay.
thinking something like that, like we could be Industrial Revolution people making stuff that people need, but I don't know what because it has to be something that normal people can afford and get hooked on and stuff too, though, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, more or less. But I think that one of the things I love about Blades in the Dark is it has kind of like, you guys ever played Don't Starve? It has this kind of like magic / technology feel where the two like run into each other. So I love the idea that you actually have a machine that you feed stuff into, and it spits out, you know, this stuff, whatever it is, and that one of your side businesses is you go around and fix people's machines, and they just happen to be like, hey, do you want to hit at this stuff? Right.
Yeah,
so
I'm into that. Like maybe even how we found this drug to begin with is the runoff of the machine or something.
That's awesome. I love that it's like something you all discovered that was kind of inadvertent to this processing that you were trying to do.
We're basically huffing gas.
Yeah, that's great. I like it. Yeah, Gerrit, any thoughts? Do you like this? Is this cool? Do you have the only thing is that we're kind of stuck with this decision for a while, so we'll make sure everybody's kind of on board with it.
I like it. As a whisper, I think I should add that it reacts strongly with ghosts. Does that make sense? So it will make them explode. It will explode.
It also might grant people sight into the ghost field. Like, so when you do this drug, it may actually like cause you to see like the psychic maelstrom. Like you can see it more clearly while you're on this stuff, right? But maybe ghosts can see you too, or at least people say that's what's happening. Maybe they're just super high, right?
But the idea of that the procurement is difficult because things can easily explode.
Yeah, I like it. So you've got these machines that you all have built, that you have sort of moved from Skovlin to Akros, pieces of which were Skovlin only, right? And they have this kind of grotesque, overly machined kind of feel to them, grease, smoke, and Industrial Revolution kind of look. And you feed stuff into the machine, right? And maybe that stuff is not the same every week. Maybe sometimes it's one thing and sometimes it's another. But it does involve some ghostly stuff. So whether that's ghosts themselves, which would be very efficient, or stuff that has been affected or tainted or like messed with by ghosts. Okay, so there's got to be this sense of like there's these special things you need to feed into the machine, and then it kind of grinds it up, and you've got this powder that you kind of move around. Everybody cool with that? Yeah. Okay, awesome, good. So let's introduce your characters with that in mind. And people, this devil dust is like, it's taken the city by storm, right? Like it is a thing people are talking about. You can't make enough of it. That's the kind of situation you've got. And it's what's putting you on the map as partially, yeah, as Gerrit says, it's kind of cartel plus in the wall. Yeah, we're grinding up angels and selling drugs. It's good times. Let's go to Chet. Chet, why don't you introduce your character in full, and I'm going to ask you a question about the gang that will affect the kind of situation we have in Duskwall.
Sure. So I'm wondering what our family name is. I know we're staying at this place called the Whitethorn Manor.
Right.
Maybe it doesn't matter because like I've decided that I'm going to introduce myself to people as Wester Whitethorn.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, great. Yeah, I like it.
Regardless of what, maybe Wester is my real name.
Yeah,
maybe not. I don't know.
That's fine.
But I'm to everyone I meet, I am Wester Whitethorn of Whitethorn Manor.
That's good. And what's your primary role in the gang? Like, do you see yourself as the primary salesperson for the drugs?
Yeah, I think I would absolutely be branching out into different districts and attending parties and kind of like pushing. I'm a pusher man.
That's great. Okay. It's your job to push it. Great. Yeah. So you guys have a core area, which is where your lair is, and that's Coleridge. It's a factory district. It's also kind of a union district. So whatever unions are left in Duskwall, they are probably here or on the docks. Those are the two strongest unions in the city. There's a lot of Skovlanders who live in Coleridge. You guys blend in no problem because this is where a lot of people moved after the war. It's kind of a low-income district. There's not a lot of sales to be made here. But the rest of the city is yours for the taking. So I'm going to ask you, Chet, where your hunting grounds are. Now, Blades in the Dark has like a pseudo setting, meaning it's not like everything's fixed, but there's some general things we all agree on. One is that there are many districts in Duskwall. Each one kind of has different gangs that control it. And what we're going to do now is pick which one of those gangs you have to deal with and which districts you're going to be in. So some options. First, you can be in a relatively poor district or a relatively criminal district, and that's going to put you into conflict with other criminal gangs, people who want to rip you off, that kind of thing. Or you can try to go into a district where maybe you're selling more at parties, you're selling more at places where people aren't admitting that they're using the drug, and your problems are more along the lines of the authorities and people who are looking into shall we say, higher order suppliers who may not be pleased with you stealing their business. So it's up to you. Do you want to talk about specific districts, or do you want to give me a district and have me figure out what makes the most sense?
So, I mean, is this drug like we're pulling the like exhaust from a machine, so it seems kind of dirty, right? Like maybe I think start in like a poor area.
Sure, yeah. Like you could totally start in one that's fairly criminal. Let me throw the map of Duskwall up on the screen here, and I'll show you all some of the different places it could be. So let me share my screen. All right, y'all see that?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So you all are in Coleridge over here. To the southeast is Ironhook Prison and Dunslow. That's basically where all the prisoners work things like the energy fields, energy farms, and eelries. Eel is the primary meat of Duskwall. Remember, there's no sun in Duskwall. The gates of death have crashed down. It's night pretty much all day, every day, all the time. So eel, that's the new cow, right? Eel pies, eel tacos, eel whatever, right? That's what everybody eats. So if you go up north, Night Market is where the rail station is. So it's actually one of the weirder sections of Duskwall. It's like where strange and weird things happen. To the west, this area, Brightstone, Six Towers, and Charter Hall, is kind of the richer district, with Six Towers being the district that's kind of fallen on hard times among the wealthier people. The middle range there, Char Hollow, Crowsfoot, and the Docks is a sort of working class district. It could be, for example, that you sell on the docks because that's where dock workers are and they like the stuff for whatever reason. Or Crowsfoot, which is really like criminal land central, right? And then finally to the south, Silk Shore is like the red light district. It's actually like Venice. You have to go on boats between places. And then White Crown is like the governor's stronghold and like super authority central. Probably not wise to spend much time there. So Chet, do you have a preference for where you've been pushing the drugs and having some success?
I have two ideas, and I know I'm not supposed to discuss it.
No, it's okay. We can discuss a little bit. It's just your call, right? You just have to. It's your call.
So what I was thinking was, and these are kind of very different styles of gameplay, but like if we were going to Six Towers, that could be interesting because we're dealing with wealthy people, but maybe they have more reason to use because they've fallen on hard times or whatever. So that was my first idea. The second was, what if we were selling inside the prison somehow?
Oh, that's interesting. Ironhook Prison is pretty locked down. That would be a good territory, I think, to expand into later, but it might be a little harder to set up jobs and stuff at first. So if you're leaning towards Six Towers, I mean, what do folks think? Matthew, what do you think? Six Towers, does that sound cool?
Yeah, I love Six Towers.
Okay, cool. So let's do Six Towers. The idea behind Six Towers is that it's sort of a district that's fallen on harder times. And what that does is it gives us the opportunity to kind of showcase rural decline or urban decline, right? Like this is a district where the wealthier families have moved out, leaving behind the folks who couldn't quite make it, right? If you're looking at your book, it's on page 276. So some things to note. This formerly prestigious district has faded over the centuries into a pale shadow of what it once was. all but 2 of the original 6 towers have been sold off and converted into cheap apartments. The district has an empty, haunted feel, with many sprawling old buildings dark without power. Of course, here in this district is Scurlock Manor. Now, Lord Scurlock has moved on to finer abodes. He's one of the most frightening characters in Duskwall, known to all criminals. But perhaps a nephew or a cousin or niece still lives there. So there are certainly dangerous elements here. But the authorities don't care much about this part of the city. So let's see. In terms of who controls this part of the city, I don't think it actually says this particular person. So we'll talk about that as we go. But the gangs that sort of control this, Fraser, we'll have you talk about them a little bit. So why don't you introduce your character, and then we'll have you answer some questions about the gangs.
Sure. So let's see. I am Quest Grind. My character concept is that I was a part of the family that was sent away for schooling, and I learned how to do machinist stuff, but it was probably for like business or something like that. I'm thinking of, oh crap, I haven't seen Godfather in a while. Michael, I think, before second one.
Yeah. Michael's kind of the one who might have turned the family to real, like made it what do you call it? Made it legit.
Yeah, I'm thinking like really early when he's still like young and naive and doesn't want to do the business.
Yeah.
But something has happened where I've got called back to help with the family and stuff like that.
Great.
And by trade, I'm a machinist. And I'm a lurk with the Devil's Footsteps. And what else would be pertinent? My alias is the Craftsman.
Good. I love it. So when you went to school, did you go to the academy or did you go to somewhere outside of Duskwall?
Outside of Dustfall, I think I like the idea of me having to be sent for to come back because something's happened.
I love it. Okay, that's really cool. I think it's great. So we're gonna say that you actually have run into on numerous occasions a group that calls itself the Circle of Flame. Mm-hmm. They're a refined secret society of antiquarians and scholars, but they're cover for extortion, graft, vice, and murder, meaning that this secret society on one hand just seems like a bunch of random academics, but in reality, they have their hooks in many, many things. And when they've caught you all selling, you had a couple of options. The first option was you could take some of the very limited money you had to start and pay them off. And if you pay them off, everything's good. They like you. It's not bad. You could have even given them some additional coin to smooth the way, or you could have advised your less educated brethren to simply ignore them. Like, what are they going to do? They're a bunch of scholars, and just run the risk of operating without license in 6 towers. So, what did you do?
Yeah, we only start with like 2 coin, right?
Yeah, that's it.
I don't know. I'd want buy-in from the players, but my idea would be to tell them to shove off, because the more people that hate us, the better. Like, the more interesting it gets.
All right, good. So, Matthew, Chet, any thoughts on he's the smartest brother, right? Like, he's very wise, right? He's got a real education. What do y'all think of this? Tell them to go screw themselves. We'll keep our coin to ourselves plan.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
With me. I think that's awesome and interesting and
excellent. They're a bunch of Acrosi jerks anyway, right?
We've got the good stuff, and if they want to buy it, then maybe we'll hook them up. But
that's awesome. Okay, good, cool. We'll adjust the status later, but right now I'm just going to put -1 with Circle of Fun.
I think it fits too, because I think I would have resented being called back from my academia, and there's probably, as in all academia, a lot of gatekeeping. So when these people were like, "Hey, give us some money," I was probably like, "Fuck you."
I also like that they're also academics, and so you might know 1 or 2 of them, right? Yeah. From your travels. That's great. Okay, cool. So you have a couple different types of options for what this territory is useful for, and I'm pretty sure we've established that it's its primary use is for covert sale. Okay, so that's the one that we're going to focus on for your special stuff that you do here. This isn't the place you get your drugs, although you might get them here. It's not the place you make shows of force, although you might have to do that. It's primarily about doing covert sales to either other dealers here or to directly wealthy people who want huge supplies of it for themselves and their friends. Cool?
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Matthew, let's go ahead and introduce your character.
Sure, I'm still just a little bit working my way through, but I definitely have the concept pretty much together. So my name is Orlin Whitethorn. I'm playing the Hound. So my character was I'm in the Skovland military. Fought in the war.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I have because the Hound can have a strange, or not strange, trained hunting pet, but also probably strange. I have a mongoose named Dart that is my buddy. Prone for biting people that he probably shouldn't. She probably shouldn't, actually. And I think that my role might be kind of... I don't know how active we are in fighting and war, stuff like that, but it's definitely in keeping the armory up to shape. It's probably also in inspecting some of the other machinery, because I think I did a lot of weapons repairs and stuff like that. So I just have a pretty good idea of how to keep things well maintained. So I probably am the one looking after on the ground floor, just making sure everything's functioning well. And then I'll report to, sorry, Fraser, what's your character's name again? Quest. Cool. Yeah, I'd report to Quest if anything's going wrong.
That's great. I think that you probably, it sounds to me so far like you're the one who actually can bring a show of force behind the lurk and the slide, right? The lurk's doing a lot of good stuff to keep the machines running, but somebody's got to put a gun in someone's face if needed, right? And so you're there. Now, are all three of you Skovlanders from the family? I know that I think we said you are, Matthew, and Fraser, you are as well, right? What about you, Chet? Are you a Skovlander?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool.
And actually, I didn't mention this, but I was also thinking of a military background for Wester. Obviously, he's probably not as tough as Matt's character is, but that was kind of his thing too. It was like there was the Civil War, and like everybody was kind of expected to, take part. And so I've got some military training as well.
Good. So it sounds to me, Fraser, like you might be the younger brother who was sent off to school and saved from the horrors of war and problems when your family still had some money.
Oh yeah, totally. And I think that would be good for drama, because I plan on being incredibly hypocritical and mirroring academia, being like academians are gatekeeping assholes who speak down to education, and then I do the exact same thing to my brothers who went to war.
Good. And it sounds to me like Matthew, you might be the oldest brother, right? The one who didn't have very many good options when the war began. I
think so, but I think I also sort of relished in it a little bit. Like it's something that I enjoyed, but I'm still dealing with the fallout from that.
Are you like pro Skovland independence? Like you still believe in like the dream?
Yeah, I think let's go with
That's great. Very cool. Good. And what about you, Chet? How does your character feel about this whole Skovland war thing?
I think he is secretly definitely pro Skovland independence, but I think he's very altruistic or not altruistic. He understands like the realities of the world. So he plays that it's like fine, whoever he's talking to, he kind of agrees with.
Yeah. This is the real world.
Yeah.
The Empire's not going to let Skovland go anytime soon. One reason for that, and this is like a really cool subtle economic thing, all the Leviathan blood, the demon blood that's harvested from the whaling ships that basically go out from Duskwall. Because Duskwall is not a political capital, it's an economic capital. It's the furthest north city in the Acrosian Empire short of Skovland, right? So that means that it's the place where all the whaling vessels, all the Leviathan hunting vessels leave from. And when they bring the Leviathan blood back, they don't bring it to Duskwall, they bring it to Skovland. And Skovland is the place where it's processed. And so in a lot of ways, what Skovland is the dumping grounds for all the Acrosian environmental devastation, right? So like you recognize that Skovland serves a certain role, right, Chet? Like it's It's not going to change. You think they're going to process that Leviathan blood here in Duskwall? Are you crazy? Right? So it's the real world, right? Cool. All right, Matthew, you all have an extended family. Like everybody moved here, everybody came here, and that extended family is represented by your crew upgrade of rooks. Your rooks are one or two of the sort of local kids, the sort of younger, like hoppers almost, right? Like the 12 to 16-year-olds that you have convinced to run odd jobs for you. They're not great at it, but they can basically do things you all can't. They can find sometimes better position than you all can. For example, to go watch somebody, you might be desperate for you all because they know what you look like, but they don't know what these kids look like. So having them have a weak role is not the same as having them have no role, right? But with that in mind, you have to tell us about a faction that helped you get this upgrade and a faction that was screwed over when you got this upgrade. So just in raw fictional terms, like we'll figure out which gang to attach it to later, but why is someone happy that you dealt with these kids from the local neighborhood? Who are these people that are pumped to see your crew rising in power and hiring people and you know, making use of your extended family? And yeah, like I said, don't worry about a specific crew. We can find somebody to attach it to.
There's got to be some. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Chet.
Oh, no. This is, I think he asked you, right?
Yeah. Let's see what Matthew's saying, and we'll throw some other stuff on it.
And so this is somebody who is that we've taken the rooks on from them, or that they're happy.
Or maybe they're just happy to see kids from the neighborhood getting work, or maybe there's something specific about how they're excited to help you out.
Sure. Maybe we could go with the Lost, and it could, unless you want to leave the specific faction for later. Cool. Lost is great. But you know, maybe we're actually like taking in some of the folks that have really fallen on hard times, especially maybe people living in Six Towers who used to have money, and now it's like extreme poverty. So it's like a really big change for them. So we've had to, and they don't know how to live on the streets because they haven't grown up that way. So we've taken in these like ex-rich kids and now kind of given them a purpose. Great.
So the Lost is a gang. We'll say they operate in, they at least have some operations in Six Towers, and you know, they saw you all coming in, and they're ex-soldiers, so maybe one or two of them are folks you knew from the service, and they asked you, hey, can you take in these guys? They haven't been doing well. They got fired from their jobs, and you're willing to put a little coin in their pocket. Now, are you willing to spend a little extra coin to buy these folks from the Lost and really earn some good favor? Or are you kind of doing this as like a, yeah, I'll do it, but I don't really like it, kind of begrudging nice deed?
Speaking on Orland's behalf, I'm going to go with option 2.
Yeah. All right, great, cool. So y'all are keeping that coin close to your pocket, right? It's last few gold pieces, last few hard-pressed dollars. So great. So you've taken on some folks for the Lost. You have +1 status for that with them. And then let's go on to the second one. So Chet, why don't you, Matt contributed that. Why don't you contribute? Who's mad about you working with these rooks and mad that they're a part of your overall thing?
So I feel like it's got to be whoever was using them before we took over. Yeah.
Well, it was the Lost. The guy, the contact from the Lost said that they got fired from that gang. So, okay. Although maybe we could say that it's a slightly different gang that's operating in the same area. If you wanted to make it really, if you want to really double down, you can make it the Circle of the Flame and say that you've actually picked up a couple of folks who work for that faction you've already made angry. Or we can bring in a new faction that just doesn't like it. Some other suggestions, if you want to do something that's a little bit more orthogonal, is there's a number of organizations that are kind of Skovlin focused. Mm-hmm. So it could be that maybe the folks you've picked up aren't Skovlanders, and they don't like to see you put money in the pockets of Skovlanders when you could be putting it in the pockets of non-Skovlanders.
Yeah, no, I could see that for sure, especially if it's like you know, that sort of xenophobic, like help your own first if you're going to help anyone. So is there anybody in the district that we're stationed in Coleridge that?
Yeah, so actually There's a great one, which is Ulf Ironborn. He's a brutal Skovlander newly arrived in the dusk, fighting everyone for turf. So he's like carving out territory, but like as a bravos, right? Like as a punch you in the face. This is mine, right? Just to have it kind of dude. Matthew's excited. Yes, Ulf. Okay, cool. So we'll say Ulf doesn't like this. He's not. He's not buying it, right? So do you put a little coin in Ulf's pocket and tell him to chill out, or you let it ride?
Oh my God. How much coin do we have left?
You have 2. You've spent none of it. You've so far you've only kept it close to the vest.
I mean, you know what? Let's just go for it and not pay him at all.
Oh man, he's not happy. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so you're at -2 status with Ulf. He's real mad. He's not sure why you won't support him and all the good Skovlanders that live in Coleridge. Now, one thing to note is the citizens of Coleridge don't like Ulf. Like even the local Skovlanders recognize him as a bully, right? So his whole like Skovland first shtick only goes so far. Okay,
cool.
And they're both the Lost and Ulf are tier 1 gangs. They're basically one step above you and not much further. Okay, cool. Anything you want to add to that, Fraser?
No, I like the idea of us being at odds with another Skovlander. I'm into that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's a nice twist on it. So
especially one that like no one else likes.
Yes. So let's take a look at the crew sheet, and we get some contacts and things. For right now, we're not going to define any of those as favorite contacts. I want to leave that for our second session and let some other folks kind of contribute some things. But they're all available to you, so you don't need to feel like you can't go to them because they're not your favorite, you're not their favorite, or they're not your favorite. They're all available, and we'll decide who is kind of pro you and anti you as we go. And as far as our crew upgrades go, we've already kind of gotten in our gang, which is a kind of unique set of upgrades. They're going to get better as your tier gets better as a gang. When you improve, they're going to be better. Okay. And that's pretty much it for crew creation. We've done all the different sort of pieces. It's important to note that you have zero rep and 2 coin. You earn rep and coin from doing jobs, so you're going to be looking for jobs throughout the session. I'm going to start you in a position where we have a job kind of going, and we're in the middle of a scene where you might negotiate. I want to get Gerrit introduced in a second, so we'll do that. But what's important about the jobs in general is that they have fairly standard payouts. So you're not going to negotiate very much around how much a job costs. Like that's kind of a Shadowrun problem, right? You're like, then we didn't get paid for anything and everybody died. Like these are very typical. If you do a job that's a big job, it pays 10 coin. If it's a small job, it pays 4 coin. And everybody in Duskwall kind of agrees on these prices. Like if you're offering too little money, nobody will take the job. If you're offering too much, somebody's going to scam you for it, right? So it's always this sort of baseline kind of thing. So there's not a lot of point in negotiating the price in the fiction, which is kind of a boring thing. You're mostly negotiating what the job entails and what you're willing to do and what you're willing to cost you. I think we've gone through all the different pieces. Gerrit, why don't we introduce your character, and I want to talk a little about our reputation, if you're cool and your connection is up to it.
I don't know if you can already understand.
We can hear you.
I'm not sure you can understand me. My connection is still meager, to say the best.
You're good, man. We can hear you as long as your video's off.
Right. I can't hear you properly, so I'm hoping. I'm not.
You broke up.
Am I roboting? Can you write that? Or
you're.
Can you understand me properly? I broke up.
Yeah, it's hard to understand.
Then I'm sorry to say that I'm still not back properly. I might postpone that. I will be. I think I will be back in a couple of minutes. So it's just a matter of time. My neighbor is streaming or downloading something, and we share our internet connection. And 2 Mbit is not too much.
You sound good now, actually.
Yeah, if you can hear us.
I can't properly hear you, but I'm a whisper, and the name of my character is Tekla Achi, which says "be quiet." So I was quiet for quite a while now, and I'm not sure what I can say about my character because I'm still a little bit in the vague, like where we are. I'm thinking back and forth if I should take as my special ability ritual or occultist. I somehow have the feeling that I could be in the lab, so to say, of our drug, like getting the demons there and getting the cooking of our drug done. Does that still make sense, or have we further developed our idea?
That sounds great.
Cool. And for ritual, if I read it correctly, it's about like that I start with one ritual already learned, and that could be the drug making, right? That could be our demon dust.
It can be, and in fact, if it's that, then what we'll do is we'll write up a custom move basically for people that do it. Like, it's not just a fictional, like, hey, you do some drugs. It's like, this is a real thing that has a real grip on people.
Totally. Yeah, I love that. Yes.
Okay, very cool.
Then
Good.
I would go for ritual, and how many points can I distribute? 5 or something?
For your stats, it's 4. 2 of them should be related to your heritage and background, one each, but you put them wherever you like, and then the other 2 go wherever you like. It's important to note that the first dot in each one contributes to your attribute. So, for example, 1 dot in hunt and 1 dot in study gives you an insight of 2, but 2 dots in hunt and nothing in study gives you an insight of 1. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So what's neat about Blades is that it says doing something really well is different than being able to say no in a variety of ways, right? So your resistance is about your breadth of knowledge, and your activity is about your depth of knowledge.
All right.
Great. Cool. So yeah, I like this idea that basically what you all do is you feed things into this machine to refine them and remake them and sell them for parts. And as you did so, Gerrit's character figured out a way to maybe go a little further and push it a little harder and actually touch the ghost field with this stuff. So I like the idea of the sort of science and magic thing, right? Where like Fraser's character kind of refines it, and then Gerrit kind of makes it special, right? And that's like, does his ritual thing. And because of that, these drugs have the ability to push you into the ghost field, to reach out, to touch things, to withstand things you wouldn't normally withstand, and to see things you would never normally see. So they're extremely powerful drugs, and people love them. And in fact, you might have more trouble with people loving them than you do with actually moving products. Like, people might want to have you make drugs only for them, right? That's a concern. All right, good, cool. All right, if we're all set, then what I'd like to do is jump us into some scenes. One thing to note that we haven't talked about today, but we'll talk about more either next session or at the end of today's session, which is your vice. Your vice is what you do to basically de-stress as you go through your life. Like, you get all these bad stresses from basically living in this chaotic, difficult world of crime, and your de-stressing is to go out and engage your vice. So unlike cartel, it's not immediately destructive when you go get rid of stress, but you can overindulge, you can let something slip, you can run into trouble, but a lot of your jobs are going to come from your vices too. So when you go out to watch a fight or do some drugs or go to a poker game, you're going to hear about other jobs that are available for you to take on.
Mark, is the plan to get to a downtime this session too?
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I usually like to start with a smaller job for session 1 and kind of get people into it, and then do a set of fairly quick downtimes. But we'll see. We may not get to downtimes today. We may do them over email or Slack or whatever, depending on what we have time for. Okay, cool, great. So does anybody have any questions? No, cool. I would like to take a quick 5-minute break and get some water, and then we'll come back and we'll do like jump into kind of negotiating, talking about a job, and then you all can take that on or go look for other stuff. It's not up to me. I'm not even more so than Apocalypse World. You all really are driving the train. Okay, cool. Okay. As Matthew neatly summarized in the chat here, what we've decided so far is that the Whitethorn Gang's primary hunting grounds are the Six Towers, a once rich district now worn down and dilapidated. The Circle of Flame, who is one of the controlling factions, at least over the area that you've been selling in, isn't happy about the business you're doing, even though you've kept it quiet. When approached, you told them to screw off and that you were going to sell where you wanted to sell, and they skulked off into the darkness. In the meantime, the Lost, who actually do live and work in Coleridge as well, asked you all to take on a few people from Six Towers who had fallen upon hard times. And so you have a number of rooks who work in the area, gathering information, looking into problems, overhearing things. And the Lost look favorably on you for this. The Lost are a group of ex-soldiers and things who have dedicated themselves to making life better for Duskwall, the regular people of Duskwall, even if they have to beat somebody to do it. Meanwhile, Ulf is a Scovelander bully who recently arrived in Duskwall after the war, and he's angry that you all are working with non-Scovelanders when there's so many hungry Scovelanders who don't have enough work that you all should be supporting. Okay, so let's go ahead and open in Coleridge. Do you take visitors at the Whitethorn Manor, Chet? Like, does Westers meet people there, or where do you meet folks when they want to do business?
No, I don't think I would meet people there. I think we want to like portray an air of exclusivity and almost like fake nobility.
Yeah, that's great.
Since we somehow have control of this manor.
I think you probably. I mean, let's talk about that. So, Fraser, how did the family get a hold of this manor? Did you buy it when you still had a little money left? What was this your father's plan? What's the deal? You're muted or something still.
Yeah.
Nope, still muted,
Hello?
brother. Yeah, there we go.
Hello? Okay, weird. It was just on my Yeti. Okay, I was thinking maybe I got called back from just like in Godfather, one of our elderly family members died or something.
Great. Okay.
And so we've inherited it from them and kind of
great.
be like, are you going to let the family fall apart? Or are you going to step up and be a man type thing?
That's great. All right, good. So your great uncle purchased this place a long time ago when maybe like he was the person who like your father sent goods to, and they were sold here, right? And then you all had to move here. And so this place has been kind of in the family's name for a long time. And yeah, like I love this Western Whitethorn. Like they've invented this, like Great Gatsby kind of invented this thing out of nothing, right? Like you're gonna push it on. That's great. All right, wonderful, great. So let's say you meet like in a nearby ealery. Is that the kind of thing that you would do?
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Okay, great. And we'll say, Fraser, do you go along on these kinds of talking, like sales expeditions when people want to meet? Are you likely to be there or not there?
Yeah, if Chet, you're okay with it.
Yes.
I was I was thinking like it would be a good opportunity for me to be the younger brother who's like, no, you don't understand these things. You know, I'm educated. Let me come with you. Otherwise, you know, who knows what will happen. But I only want to do that if that's fun for you as a player as well. So
I'm trying to think of like my character's perspective. I think I would be annoyed, but yeah, I mean, I'm a socialite, so the more the merrier.
Yeah,
right.
That's great. Okay, cool. And Chet or Matthew, your character often provides sort of security, right, for this stuff?
Yeah, I was thinking since Orlin also has a bit of a tactical mind, sometimes I'd be looking out on the street for like better opportunities of where we could sell. I kind of try to put the overall plans together kind of thing. So I might be kind of doing that at the same time and then also just being close at hand in case I'm needed.
Great. That sounds good. Cool. And Tekla, is this the kind of meeting that you would attend as well, or do you think you'd probably stay away from meeting with potential clients or partners?
I usually try to stay away, but this time I want to be there because I think it's important.
That sounds good. Why don't we say that? Why don't we say that you and you and Chet are maintaining some distance from the two of them, and you can. You're especially good at seeing whether there's any ghost influence.
Yes, that sounds good. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Cool. So we'll start at the Eellery. I always imagine like there's parts of Coleridge that are kind of working class food districts. So they're almost like open air, kind of like almost food stalls, right? And there's eel kind of frying on the grill, meat pies and things hanging from various hooks and things. And the two of you are sitting with this ambiguously gendered, kind of mysterious figure who is cloaked in what the lost always wear, which is a mask that covers the bottom half of their face, and a sort of almost hijab hood kind of thing that covers the top of their head. So all they are is the eyes, and that means that the lost could be anybody, right? The lost could be any foreman, any soldier, anyone who has dedicated their life to this, to justice and goodness, right? To reforming that which they have done in the past. And nodding at Chet, nodding at Matthew's character across the street, right? Like, you know, they see you, they know that you're here, Orlin. They whisper kind of in a raspy voice. We all appreciate what you've done. You didn't have to take them on. I know the coin is precious where you are right now. So we'd like to offer you an opportunity. You are interested, Wester, aren't you, in opportunities?
Well, sure, right. Any type of opportunity is a good opportunity. And those lads are good lads. They need a place to work and do their trade.
I don't think I've met your younger brother here.
Well, don't be rude.
And I think I just like, you see like a hand. I think I have like a suit on from our great uncle or whatever that is ill-fitting and like threadbare a little bit, but it's it's like what I try to do to present like a good image. And I've got like a gold ring on that isn't gold because we're poor and shit. And that's the thing that creeps into the camera as I go to shake their hand.
That's great. I love it. Yeah. So the hand comes up and it's gloved. Like there's just like this tiny strip of skin, and that's it that you can see, right? And the mask is not just like a cloth. Like it almost seems like a little metal-y. Like it has like some reinforcement there. And the gloved hand grips yours kind of tightly. You feel almost like they're testing you, and then they pull it back.
Just like my uncle.
My name is Kinclaith.
Conclave, was it?
Yep, Kinclaith.
Cool.
Your brother here has been useful. And so, like I said, we'd like to offer you something. You know the Circle of Flame controls 6 towers. They are not to be trusted. We heard that you... Go ahead.
We've run into the likes of them.
We heard that they offered their silence, and you turned them down. We approve.
Well, there's nothing to it.
They're currently experiencing a supply problem. They have a contract with the Deathland Scavengers. Now, you know the Deathland Scavengers, they're sort of legendary in Duskwall. They're the prisoners who basically, rather than live in Ironhook Prison, agreed to go hunt things outside the lightning barrier. So it's sort of like Mad Max, Judge Dredd thing where they live outside the walls, right? And they bring things in, they look for stuff. They're hopefully going to live long enough to earn their freedom. But it's sort of like the worst slave gang kind of sentence that you can end up with, where they just turn you out and you probably go out there to die, right? But King Clave says that the Deathland Scavengers, they found something valuable, and they're keeping it for themselves. They're no longer making deliveries to the Circle of Flame. Their usual vices, 6 towers, are going unfilled.
Interesting. So you're saying there's a need.
Oh, a need, yes. A powerful need. You see, that's what people are, their needs. And hopefully we rise above them, don't we? We become something greater. They put their hand on their face as if to feel the mask kind of like obsessively. Right? Something more. We can make arrangements for you to meet with an alchemist. A man who has served the circle for some time. Perhaps he could be convinced by one manner or another to find a new supplier. King Clave reaches into their pocket and pulls out, like a coin or two. Not coin or two. That's like a sack of coin, but a few bits, and puts it down to pay for your 2 pies. Says, "You see,
we're eating pie."
Yeah, you got meat pies, right? At the eelery, right? Right? Just like puts down those coins and says, "We expect good things from you. Great things, even." Stands, kind of straightens their little jacket with the sort of almost like plumage kind of shirt underneath that leads up into the mask. Do you have any questions?
Well, this is very kind of you, I must say, to just send us this information for nothing.
Would you like to kind of like try to figure out what King Clave is up to, whether this is a legit deal? All right, great. Let's do a roll. That's great. Okay, so here's how this works. There are downtime actions that you take between jobs that are sort of what I think of as safe. They're like, you go look into something, you get an asset, you do whatever. But any other time, we're just in free play, right? Which means like regular role playing. Like we roll dice, we see what happens, and we go from there. When we go into a job, it's like going through a gate. Like we're gonna be like, cool, let's go through that gate together. Yeah, we're all on the same page. But until we do that, we're just doing free play. So Matthew, if you want to scope this person out as well, or see if anybody's around, or when we cut back to you, we'll find out what you and Gerrit have been up to watching this whole conversation. You all can take actions too. Just know that when you take actions, you invite the potential for consequences. Okay. So Chet, let's start with you. So what are you doing here? It's really up to you to tell me which action dot is coming to bear. I'm not going to tell you, although I can make suggestions if you're struggling.
I mean, it's like if I were playing D&D, this would be an insight check, right? So I'm reading this guy. He seems very creepy and weird and like magical or whatever. So like I'm very hesitant to believe him. So I think I'm probably studying him, maybe?
That's great. Yeah, study is usually for individual people or objects, and survey is for like the scene, right? So if you want to study this individual person, that sounds great. This feels very controlled to me. I mean, this person is putting themselves out in front of you. Risky is when there's some element that could come to bear. Like if you were following them, then that would be a great time to be risky. They might spot you, they might see you, you might not learn very much. And then desperate is like where they're looking for you and you're following them. Like this is a terrible fucking plan, dude. Are you kidding me? Right? Yeah. So that's this feels totally controlled. So what you're gonna do is build your dice pool. The dice pool starts for 1 dot of each action rating. So what's your action rating in study?
Here's the thing. I didn't assign my points yet. So I'm figuring that out.
Cool. That's perfect. Yeah, this would be a great time. Yeah, so that sounds good. I mean, you've got military background, which I think would be a great one to say study, and you might, since this is a thing you might do more often than not. You might even throw 2 dice in there.
What's the main like sort of charisma like?
That one's going to be sway. Sway is your intimidate, convince, that kind of thing. Let's go over the actions real quick so you know. So hunt is shooting, stalking, following, anything that has to do with sort of hunting people and things down. Study is for individual people or things. Survey is for the location or situation. Tinker is messing with mechanics usually to make them work better or differently. That's like the Bioshock skill. Finesse is like small, fine things. So picking a lock is sometimes finesse. Prowl is where you're stalking or even like ambushing people. Skirmish is straight up fight, like bam, bam, everybody's brawling against each other. Wreck is wrecking a place, item, or obstacle with savage force. Notice that there's some intentional overlap among the skills already. Attune has to do with the ghost field. So anything ghost field related, attuning to ghosts, attuning to spirits. Command is about ordering people to do what you want, so intimidating or threatening directly. And then consort is like your partying skill or knowing the right person's skill, right? That kind of thing. And note, like skill is the wrong word. It's an action dot. It covers all those actions and what happens with them. And then finally, sway, which already starts with 2 dice for you, and it's a good place to start. If I remember correctly, you can't have more than 2 to start. I forget if it's 2 or 3.
That's correct.
You can't have more than 2. Yeah. So you already maxed out on sway, and that's because that's like your character's thing. Like of course you have 2 dots in sway. Why wouldn't you? Right?
Yeah. So I went ahead and put 2 into study.
Great.
I also have 1 in hunt and 1 in skirmish.
Perfect. Cool.
Just for the hell of it. So yeah, I'm gonna roll, I guess. Do I click?
Great. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll 1 die for that. Now, there's a couple other things we're going to do. So it's kind of more like Burning Wheel. You sort of build a die pool. So the first thing is, does anybody want to help? The way helping works is you mark 1 stress. Great. Cool. Fraser, tell me how you help.
I think when he's scrutinizing him, that's when I say, like he says, do you have any questions? And I start just going in with like idle banter about how can we trust you and stuff, so his attention goes to me and Wester can study more aptly.
Perfect. So Fraser's going to mark a stress, which will resolve over the course of play, and you get an extra die. The last thing is you get 1 die for pushing yourself or a devil's bargain, but not both. Pushing yourself is relatively inefficient. It's 2 stress for 1 die. But accepting a devil's bargain is like up to us creating an interesting story. Okay. So I'm going to say that I will offer a devil's bargain, which is a clock, okay? And it's basically a complication. And what it is that King Claith has specific interests in you. Just you.
Me,
just
personally.
You
I'm into that. I'm totally into that.
Yeah. All right, great, cool. So I'm gonna make a clock here for special interest, and I'm gonna give it it's a pretty small clock, so I'm just gonna give it 4 seconds. And when it resolves, something will come to bear on you that has to do with King Claith's personal, specific interest in you.
That sounds sexy. So
all right, there we go. Like it. Good, cool. All right, so you get a free die for that. But the thing is, no matter what you roll, that thing happens. It's not negotiable. It's not if you roll poorly well, that's happening for sure. Okay.
So what's the effect?
So the effect is going to be standard in this case.
Okay. And then so I'll have 2 bonus dice, correct?
Yep. So
cool.
you should get
devil's bargain and then the help.
And the help. So you should have a total of 4 dice.
I'm rolling it in roll 20.
That sounds good. Yeah.
I got a 5. 5 is
perfect. Great, cool. So 5's the highest. Oh my god, this is like the fanciest dice roller ever. What is happening?
Told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got like
it's pretty nice
and shit. All right, good. Controlled. Okay, so you hesitate. You hesitate because they look at you, and for a moment, the 2 of you lock eyes, and you're just like totally lost. And as you snap out of it and kind of get your bearings, you realize that you've exposed yourself a little bit. So you can either break that off early and try a different approach, meaning you break off study and you start swaying or doing something else to like push this person to tell you the truth. Yeah. Or you just do it with a minor consequence. And like I often will just tell you what that minor consequence is, which is that I've started this clock, which means it already has 1 thing filled in. I'm just going to fill in some more if you don't look away.
I'm down with that. I think that's fine.
All right, great, cool.
Yeah.
So, Fraser, what does your character say to break off this this soul gaze that appears to be happening?
I imagine that it's a part in the TV show or movie where we know that something is happening with Wester because all the background noise has faded and they're making contact. And to break him out of it, I put my hand on his shoulder and start squeezing really tightly to cause a little bit of pain to bring him back.
Yeah. So what does it look like when you come back?
Oh,
like,
me?
Yeah. What is it? Yeah. You just sort of like casually like just come back to your senses, or does it look different?
No, I think I just like jerk. Like I jerk a little bit, and I'm like, oh. And I look directly at. I'm sorry. Let me look at your name.
You mean me?
Quest. Yeah, Quest. I look at Quest, and I am actually kind of like angry. It's almost like when you fall asleep with your SO, and she wakes you up, and you're like,
"Yep,
I was awake."
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you snap back, and as you do, Kinklaith kind of like fades away, right? And we'll cut over to Gerrit and Matthew in a second, but basically, like you get your standard effect. So, what is it that you want to know, Chad? What is it that Western wants to know here? Because you just know it from that soul gazy look.
I think I was trying to figure out like what's Kinklaith's angle. Where is this? Because he was just giving us all this information. What's beneficial to him or her or they?
Yeah. What is this about? So the first thing that you know, just like straight know in your bones, like it's just true, that Kinklaith views you and the rest of the Whitethorn Gang as potential allies in something that is to come. Meaning that this is an investment for them. 100%, this is free because this is a debt you will owe down the road. Okay.
Yeah.
2, they fucking hate the circle. Like hate it. And if things go poorly for the circle, well, things will go well for the lost, right? And so if the enemy of their enemy is your friend and your friend already owes you a favor, you might as well double down on that. Okay? And so you get the sense that, yeah, sure, this is free, but it's not really free and it's not about you. Well, any other questions?
I mean, would I know like this person seemed very weird.
Yeah.
So would I know are the lost like all up into some sort of arcane or like supernatural shit or what?
Yeah. So you get a real sense that whatever it is that's around them is a protective shield. It is not who they really are, but it's a way to mask their identity from the people that they hunt and stalk and try to get revenge on in some way. So there's someone under that. Kinklaith is a real person underneath all that stuff, but they may not look like they look here. That makes sense? Like you get a sense that there's something behind the mask.
I'm just saying like, oh, okay. So I'm just saying like, do I know anything about the Lost as a group?
That's what I mean. Everybody in the Lost is like this. All of them have this sort of like enchantment over themselves that masks who they really are. So you might know Kinklaith from some completely other thing, but you'll never know until they take off the mask in front of you.
Do we know, like, as a reputation, who they hate, who they try to, like, what's their point? Do they kill people or whatever?
They're trying to make good on the things that they've done wrong in the past, especially here in Coleridge. So they appear to have developed some defenses against being exposed. Cool. All right, so let's cut over to Gerrit and Matt. So the two of you have been observing this from across the street. I like this sort of like Ocean's 11, like you're leaning up against the wall, right? What are you doing, Matthew? What are you up to?
I think that let me just get a quick recap on the what was the situation with the Circle of Flame when we were doing crew setup?
So you were selling in the Circle of Flames territory to some of the nobles, the like low-end nobles that live in Six Towers, and they came along and told you to knock it off, and Fraser's character told them to. Quest said, "These are for you," and like told them to get lost, and they did, but they wrote it down in their little book.
Perfect. Well, and I know that they love their books very well and check them often. So And I know that they might have some more information in that book, maybe about where we are doing our business and those kind of things. So I'm sort of scoping the area. Also, I know the Lost are ex-soldiers, and we have some trust with them, but I don't have much trust for anybody. So I'm checking out in case they have anything up their sleeve as well.
That's great. Let's start there. And Gerrit, you can jump in to help, or you can do your own thing once we've resolved that first roll, right? So that sounds to me like a survey there. Does that sound cool to you, Matthew? Yeah.
Yep,
Okay,
that's what I was going for.
Perfect. Cool. So you start with a couple dice, right? What's your survey?
My survey is currently, I still have one more die to assign, and I'm just trying to think if it would go in skirmish because of the war stuff, or maybe just another one in survey.
Well, the problem with you is that you always either think too much or have the finger too quickly at the trigger.
I love it. Yeah, Gerrit's character is not nearly as concerned as the paranoid PTSD inflicted soldier, right? Like he's tough thing. Yep. I mean, I think skirmish is a lot of fun. It's especially good for your character type, and one die is pretty solid. Like one die, you have a 50-50 shot of a hit right off the bat, and when we start adding in help and other stuff, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to drop the last one in survey as well, because I think it also plays into my role with the crew and everything. And so when I want to start up a roll, is there a button that I click on the character sheet?
Let's see.
Yeah. Can you click on the...
Oh, you just click on the name,
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow. Okay. So, Gerrit, are you going to help here?
No, I'm not going to help here.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, let him do something. Fraser, sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, just for future reference, if a player wants to resist something, they can click on Insight, Prowess, or Resolve as well.
That's awesome. Very cool. Good. All right. Yeah. So let's go forward. Do you want a devil's bargain, or do you want to push yourself, or let it ride?
I'd hear a devil's bargain if anyone at the table has something interesting. Otherwise, 2 dice isn't bad. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna say no devil's bargain here. I think 2 dice is a cool flat roll for me. So if you're good, let's roll it.
I would agree. What's my position?
I think it's fairly controlled. Like you're not in any immediate danger. You're keeping your eye out, and we'll see what happens as you go forward.
And standard effect, right?
Yep, standard effect.
Cool.
Ha! A 1 and a 6. There you go. All right, so at a 6, you do it. You just straight do it. It's great. So you look around and you notice 2 things. One is that there is absolutely a sniper above your head on the building. As you're looking down the street, you see that there's these pans, these like glistening silver pans that have all been lined up on one of the market stalls, and in one you see a sniper who's like got their sights trained on your 2 brothers over there. And as King Claith stands up, this person pulls the gun back and does not appear to fire, but they were ready. And they were willing. You could see the reflections a little warped, but you can see that they have that same mask and that same hood as they start to undo the gun and put it away.
Cool. Upon seeing that, the first thing I would do is, maybe not the first thing. I'm probably a little more tactically minded, but at some point I'd return to Tekla and just be like, "See, I told you so. I knew they have someone on the roof."
Yeah, and then you can see it. Like once he points it out to you, you can see the sniper breaking down the gun and putting it away in a bag.
And I say, I could always deal with them, but I think it'll be a little more noisy than if you don't have to deal with them. But I wonder if you could maybe get in their head or something. I don't really understand it very well, but.
Be aware, I wouldn't go into your head, and so I wouldn't go into theirs. I think this is your business here. I think like we have enough of supernatural relevance in this scene already. Like we shouldn't make it more complicated than it already is.
Yeah. So reaching out to the ghost field is kind of scary for you. Like you feel like it's opening up something that may not be friendly.
Yeah, you need to be better prepared for things like this. Like,
Excellent. Good. So as that lost person puts their stuff away, you see your two brothers would get up and walk away. Like, what do you two do, Fraser and Chet, when you're done with your conversation?
Yeah, I think that we going with the competent thing. I think we like walk out, and then I say to Wester, I guess the rest is up to Orlin and Tekla, presupposing that they will find out some information about the lost.
So, Fraser, as you say that, you put your hands in your jacket pocket as you hit the kind of cold outside air. In the little open market ealery, there's these fires that they have, right, where they burn this sort of driftwood and things that are dried out husks of stuff, right? Like, I like the idea that they pick the seaweed to the core that gets burned, right? Because it's the only thing that's strong enough to actually maintain a fire. As you go outside to the cold air, you kind of cinch your jacket up, and you find a card in your jacket pocket that wasn't there when you went inside. And what it has on it is just an address and a time.
I show it to Wester and I say, like, tricky devils we're dealing with.
Yeah, and on the back is the symbol for the lost, which is like embossed on the card. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, great. So let's go ahead and we kind of step out of character a little bit here. So you've got one job that you can pursue if you'd like. If you want to go looking for other jobs, that's totally cool. You get one free downtime basically every session, effectively, for hunting stuff in your area. Meaning you could gather information, you could go look for things, you could do whatever you want to do to gather stuff about finding jobs in your location. If you like this job, we can start to talk about an engagement role and jumping into it. One of the features of Blades is that we're not going to sit around and figure out, okay, what exactly are we going to do here? Because what's fun is jumping in and then doing flashbacks to fill in the stuff we need to fill in. So how are folks feeling? Do you want to pursue this job, or do you have something else in mind?
Yeah, I'm down with that. And personally, for a plan, I'd like to set up an assault plan, because I think that would be fun.
Cool. Okay, good. Other folks, any interest on how to move forward with this job of the Wayward Alchemist?
I need just like a brief recap, because I'm
Sure,
trying to
yeah.
remember, but you know.
Yeah, no problem. It's a little complicated online because it's harder to do crosstalk. So basically, the Lost have proposed that you meet with the alchemist who supplies drugs to the Circle of Flame, and they're not
Right.
sure exactly what you might offer this person, but there may be some deal that could be struck, or you could kill that person, and then the Circle of Flame would be in a real tough spot, or you could convince that person to sell your drugs as theirs. All my job is to provide a point of interest, and it's up to you to decide how to engage it. If you don't like this point of interest, like sometimes I'll say, hey, here's this person that a lot of people would like dead, and the gang goes, well, we don't really kill people, and we just move on, right? And that means somebody else takes that job, or that job never gets done. It's up to you.
And who were the people that were basically watching and potentially sniping out our brothers?
That was you. They were going to snipe you. But the Lost had a sniper above the, like, what Matthew learned about the Lost was that they don't trust you, right? They're prepared. They're still hedging their bets about who you really are and how much you can be trusted.
So we can imagine that we all regrouped and had this conversation.
Yep. In the movie, though, we just skip immediately to the awesome job, right? Like we don't have the whole scene where like Ocean's 11 crew debates whether or not to do the job that they've all agreed to probably do because it's a movie, right? So we're just going to jump right to the job. And what Fraser's proposed is you do the job, but you do it as an assault. You basically kick down someone's door and put them in a tough spot to have this conversation. That's different than other kinds of jobs, which we'll talk about. But first, I want to get some consensus that this is interesting. So, Gerrit, where do you think? Are you interested in engaging the alchemist?
Yes, the alchemist has one problem. He's also in cooperating with the demon, and that demon is not a friend of my demon. So I want him to be taken down.
Okay, so you think there might be some interesting occult angle here because he might be also engaged with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, there shall only be one demon cooperating on demon dust production.
Good. I like it. Okay, cool. And Matthew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very I'm definitely worried about the Lost at this point, so I'm definitely pushing in a direction where we can protect ourselves. But I also am not a fan of the Circle of Flame, so I definitely want to bust in on this place. I would definitely on board with that. And then if we want to discuss at that point, we can. But I'd like to make a show of force, and I'd also throw in the option of giving either threatening or bribing them in some way to give bad stuff to the Circle of Flames, so we can just start offing them through their supply.
Cool, cool. So there's all kinds of different ways we can approach this. Let's talk about how they get kind of drilled down into one concrete role. Okay. So the first thing is, if you take a look at your sheets, you can see that there are a number of different jobs you can do, which is first assault. So when you do an assault, you tell me the point of attack, meaning you've got to find some detail that tells you how you're going to attack this thing. So that could be, say, for example, an address and a time where this person has agreed to meet you. That'd be a perfectly fine point of assault. Now, it's true that some points of attack are weaker or better than others. So as we go through, I'm going to tell you as we build the rollout whether that point of attack makes sense. So there's still some fictional positioning. It's not just these guys have a door and we'd like to kick it down and it doesn't matter that they're a bunch of spirit wardens. That is not wise to go assault spirit wardens head on. You would want to instead be like, we know where their barracks are, we know where they sleep, we know what, that kind of point of attack. The second thing you could do is a deception, meaning that's like, I always think of it as like Chewbacca's in cuffs plan. Like, oh, I've captured this terrible Wookiee, right? And you're like, it's a deception, it's a con job, right? Now, all plans might involve deception. The difference between deception as a tool and deception as the plan is that's the whole point, is you're going to fool them into handing over something to you that you wanted, right? They're going to give it to you willingly because they're fooled. Stealth is about sneaking in. So you got to have an entry point, how you get into the place. In this case, you don't have an entry point, right? Like you don't have a place to go. Kicking down the front door is not stealth, right? That's assault. So you would need to dig into how to get into this person's place. Occult is where you just use arcane power. So for example, you might create a door through spirit magic that gets you where you want to go, or learn the true identity of someone through the occult power. Social means that you just rely on the connection itself. If you wanted to just simply go to this person's house at this time and allow the Lost to be your connection to this person who had the Lost offered to make that, you could do this as a social. That's just merely showing up and playing nice. The connection in this case would be the Lost themselves. And then finally there's transport. And transport's like its own thing. That's like really to cover jobs where you want to go from point A to point B. So that's rarer, right? The other 5 are more common. Okay. So your reputation is subtle. If you play to it, you're going to get an XP. But if you get a new reputation, you get XP as well. So you can always kind of expand what it is that you do more in keeping with how you all think. So yeah. Fraser, you want to make a pitch for assault?
Yeah, I think that we could do assault in that, like, we can all converge on this one location, and we can still do it subtly. The point is, though, that we are attacking, basically. Like, basically, we're saying, like, you're going to do this for us, or you're dead. Basically. And that's what I like about it.
All right, cool. Yeah. So yeah, an attack doesn't have to be like, it is a bit of a frontal assault, but it can be subtle in that the 4 of you get in, you knock down the door or pick the lock in some way, and then there's guns out and you are putting pressure on this guy.
I guess I agree with that, but I would argue that it's more of a stealth, or it could be a stealth plan where, like, because we're just going after one person, right?
Yep.
It's like one dude. He could be like in his study, and all of a sudden we're just standing there. You know
That's great. So how do you get there, right? If it's going through his front door, he probably would expect you. So there's maybe needs to be some observation of this guy before you go in. That might be like, I want to do this as a stealth plan. Can we send our lurk to watch him and learn his habits so we can get into his apartment before he knows we're coming?
Yeah. Right? With the fiction that we already have though, I've assumed that the Lost has done a little bit of legwork and just being like, hey, here's an address, here's the time, you just do this thing and it benefits us both. Yep. So
yeah, they've set up a social connection for you. If you don't pursue it, you're going to probably have to do some other work. Now, Matthew asked in the chat, could be fun to hit up their workshop, maybe smash up some of their equipment. That'd be great, but then you'd have to figure out where it is, right? And you don't necessarily know. All you know is where this guy is going to be at a certain time.
And I would just go with like what you guys think is the most fun, and then we can just jump to it and fill in the flashbacks and stuff.
Absolutely. And as we go, it might start out as a deception and turn into something else if things go awry, right? So you don't have to worry that if you do one, you're locked into that. That's really just where you're starting. So I think the choice that we put forward is, are you going like kicking down the door, guns drawn, telling this guy what's what? Or are you going socially, knocking on the door, sitting down with him, and then maybe pulling out guns if it gets to that point?
Actually, I wasn't thinking social. I was thinking stealth.
Oh yeah, or are you getting in there before he knows you're there, kind of thing.
Yeah. I imagined us standing behind him in like a dark room, and all of a sudden he notices there's a bunch of people there.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, if you want to do that though, like I said, you need an entry point. That's not probably the front door.
Right.
So, any thoughts on this, Matthew? What do you think?
I mean, Orlin could definitely survey for that and do some of the sneaking, but Orlin is also in favor of a show of strength. So I'm happy with either, but I would like to, rough some folks up if we have the chance to, because for our competition, and they're working for the people who are not happy with us. So
yeah, like bear in mind, for what I'm thinking in my head too, is that in the movie version of this is our introduction to the audience of what we're about, right?
Cool. All right. What do you think? Everybody good with assault? Then we're just going to kind of jump to it, and then we'll see where it goes. Yeah.
Assault.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Show of strength. Cool. So let's talk about the engagement roll. So the way that the engagement roll works is that there's basically some hoops to jump through. Like we say, what does the score look like to start, and then we make a roll. So if you skip to page 128 in the book, it talks about the major advantages and disadvantages. So first of all, you always have one die. So there's always one die to start. Then, is this operation particularly bold or daring? I'm going to say it's bold. Roughing up the chemist or cook of the tier 3 gang, like that's pretty bold. You don't know what's in there with him. It could be more than just him, right? Is this operation overly complex or contingent on many factors? I believe this operation is kick down the door and intimidate the person on the other side. So that sounds pretty simple to me. That's good. That's when you're like, okay, first this guy gives this thing, and then he does this, and blah, blah, blah. Like if we're just jumping to it, we're good. So one die. And 2 dice for the second one, or 1 die for the second one. Does the plan's detail expose a vulnerability to the target or hit them where they're weakest? I don't think it does. They're not. You don't know if they're vulnerable or not vulnerable to this kind of thing. You don't know if they have bodyguards, right? But
we could suppose that they've set up this exact time and place as an opportunity to do that.
That's true. And in fact, one thing about that is if they're planning on talking business with you, they probably don't want a lot of prying eyes around. So I will say, yes, that is true. If you take advantage of this particular time, then I think that's worth it. That's a good point. Is the target strongest against this approach, or do they have particular defenses or special preparations? I will say that they do have some defenses against getting rolled. So I'm going to take a die away for that. Can any of your friends or contacts provide aid or insight? So do any of your friends? I think we've already established that, the Lost have pointed you towards who this is, and we'll take them as a general friend and contact for your crew. Are any of your enemies or rivals interfering? No. The Circle of Flame doesn't know anything about this yet, right? That's the whole point. Are there any elements that you want to consider? No, I'm good. So basically there's 3 dice that you're going to get to roll for this. And what's going to happen is on a 6 or a critical, 2 6s, you're in great space to start. You end up kicking down this guy's door, taking care of his bodyguard, whatever it is, you're doing really well. On a 4 to 5, you're in a bad spot or like tricky spot to start. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just kind of like, in the middle. Maybe there's a competing demon who's intervening, that kind of thing. On a 1 to 3, you start in a desperate position. Now, it's always possible to recover that desperate position, but you start in a bad spot. Okay?
And we get XP for it. So
you get XP for every desperate roll. That is correct. So who wants to roll for the group?
Gerrit hasn't rolled yet. Do you want to do it, Gerrit? Yeah,
I want to do it. Yes.
Below your friends, there's roll fortune.
Yeah,
there's actually an engagement roll on the cruise sheet.
Oh, is there?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Roll engagement on the cruise sheet.
Wow.
So, but how to open the cruise sheet?
Just click on
Yes, the cruise sheet. Yep, I have it. And it says engagement.
Oh, yeah.
Where does it say so?
Sales territory.
Yeah. Right underneath your layer, quality, training, and cohorts, it says sales territory, and underneath that says role engagement.
I don't
It's like
see
the
it.
center. If you follow the
In the
line
center.
down from where it says hawkers,
Yeah.
just straight down to role engagement.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there it is. Cool. Number of dice. How much did we say?
3.
3. All right. I hear a happy noise, and it says
4,
a 5.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, risky, great. So we see the 4 of you in the hallway outside this guy's apartment. The apartment complex is kind of run down, right? Maybe we even see you start by the 4 of you entering the building, walking up the stairs. There's somebody pokes their head outside and then immediately like closes the door, right? And you hear it lock, right? And as you move your way up, you see the clock on the wall show you what time, and almost to the minute, right? You move towards the door. So who's the person who actually kicks the door in? Is it's probably the soldier.
Probably, right?
Yeah, he's the tough guy, right? So yeah, so that you just kick the door in, and you see this very thin, very tall man, almost too thin and too tall. You recognize him immediately as Tycherosi. And Tycheros is this land far away from Akros. It's a very strange and distant land. And it is said that demons not only rule there like in Aruvia, but they actually like have their blood has become mixed in with the humans that are there. So he has almost this slender man kind of quality to him. His hair is bright silver and kind of like whooshed back as if it was slicked, but it's totally dry. And he stands up and he's like, "What is?" And then his 2 bodyguards both start to stand up out of their chairs. They don't seem like Circle of the Flame people. They seem like mercenaries, somebody he's hired for today. And they both look confused and off, like they're not sure exactly what this means. Now, what load have you chosen for this mission? We probably should have said so before we rolled, but there's a couple different options. One is you could choose a light load, which means that you look like a normal person. Nobody's going to think differently of you, like you're on a job. Standard load means you have some stuff on. And heavy load is like, I come SWAT team style with like bags of stuff and, big jacket on and, Rob Liefeld pouches all over me, right? Like I'm ready to go. So mark your load, and we'll talk about what happens next.
Okay.
You don't need to decide what gear you have. What's cool is you're going to decide it as we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Matt, your character kicked down the door because you're the tough guy. You see these 2 bodyguards getting up out of their chairs. One of them sort of has a knife. The other seems to be reaching for his gun. You're in a risky position to start. What do you do?
Well, I might like to activate Sharpshooter right off the bat to unleash a barrage of rapid fire to suppress the enemy. And so I'd like to kind of like give us enough time to get in position. I think I have a fine pair of pistols, and it says you can get 2 shots off on each before you have to reload, and I might even have a spare or something. So I'm just putting a bunch of shots out. I'm definitely trying to shoot them, but maybe I'm not trying to dispatch whoever might be important to us. But otherwise, yeah.
It's great. I mean, the first thing is you just fire into the ceiling, right, and catch them off guard and maybe throw a couple of shots their way. The whole idea here is that you're not going to roll, right? You're just pushing yourself to suppress them in some meaningful sense, right? So I love that. Go ahead and mark 2 stress.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's all it is. You're just pushing yourself, so it's just done, right? The guy with the gun basically like he grabs the gun and like sort of spins around the wall, right, to get out of the way of your bullets, right? The chair that he's in just explodes with like feathers or whatever, like just there's just cushion just goes, right? The alchemist like starts shouting, like, "What is happening? What is happening?" Right? And he grabs up some sort of tray or something, and the 2 of them kind of pull out of the way. Now the other guy with the knife kind of whips it around and like starts to move towards the other folks in the room. So I would imagine, Chet, your character might have been right behind him. Like you might be second with your sword cane in hand. The guy with the knife's coming at you. What do you do?
So I was actually wondering if we could do this as like a group action, because
Yep.
we're ready. We're kicking down the door. We're jumping
awesome.
in. We're shooting guns.
Yep.
So, I mean, I would also hunt, if possible.
Great. So the idea of it being a group action is you're basically you're going to say like Whitethorn go, right? Whitethorn assemble, right? Like we're going to do this thing as a crew. Okay. Yeah. That's totally great. And I think it's great that you called it out. It's different than just simply helping each other. It's instead leading everybody together. So are you going to take the lead on that action?
I mean, I will, but I was thinking that, let me find his name. Orlin.
Well, Orlin's kind of like shot his whole load more or less, right, all over this room, right? So he might need to take a second to kind of get back on track. I love the idea of you kind of charging in and he's kind of backing you up, right?
I'll do it.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Okay, sounds good. So here's how it works. All of you are going to roll. Everybody who's in on this, and maybe Gerrit, your character may not care, may hang back and not take part in this action, right? Depending on what
we will see.
We'll see. Yes, but it doesn't imply that everybody has to do it. But it's when everybody's got to do it. Everybody's doing it together, right? It's kind of hard to say, okay, you're all trying to escape, but like only one of you makes it, right? Everybody's in it together. So with that in mind, you're all going to roll individually, and then we take the best roll among everybody. But everybody who fails costs the leader 1 stress. Meaning that you have to like hold them back or keep them from getting shot or keep the fight moving, right? And sort of suffer the penalty of it. Okay, but you can never mark more than 4 stress because there's 4 of you. That's the most you can mark. So, a lightning hook is used to capture spirits, Gerrit. Cool, great. Okay, so everybody should make sure to mark down a pistol of some sort because that's what you're all doing. Is everybody involved here? Fraser, what do you say? Is Quest gonna? As well?
If that's the plan, then I'm fine with that.
Okay, cool. This is all hunt because you're all just like Pulp Fiction style, just like you're gonna shoot whoever's in the room and try to seize control of this place, right?
And this is desperate?
This is risky still because there's multiple of you and just one of him, and all he's got is a knife, right? And your boy over there just suppressed the other 2 people and kind of sent them scattering as he opened fire. Gerrit, are you in or out? Are you gonna join this little shoot fest, or you gonna do your own thing?
I'm totally in. I have an unusual weapon with me, not a pistol though.
That's great. Is it like some sort of like science-y device, like a thing that you're gonna
it's a how do you call this? The electricity shocker.
That sounds perfect. Great. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. Great.
So risky standard?
Risky standard.
Would I was just going to ask, would we get increased effect from the sharpshooter thing, or was that what got us to risky from desperate?
You were already at risky, but you have this one. You've basically moved it to 1 target. You're all shooting at 1 guy, right? Which means that the other 2 have taken cover, and you're trying to take control of the room. So we're kind of going. This is like a big story beat here. Like in this, you're either going to take control of this room, maybe even knock someone down / kill someone, or you're going to be in a way worse position because you were not able to sort of establish yourself. Right?
So,
go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to say I'm not trying to kill the main guy that is the alchemist.
Of course, yeah. Like I'm talking about bodyguards. Yeah. Of course,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Generally, in Blades, I almost always give people the option of killing people because it's such a big deal in the setting. I'm never going to be like, you accidentally killed this person unless it's a miss, right? I mean, like if you succeed on a roll, you get to decide whether they die or live, right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, great. Yeah, so let's have everybody put their roll together. Generally, you can't help each other because you're all rolling together. That's already happening. And if you would like a devil's bargain, anybody can ask for a devil's bargain, but generally I give out fewer devil's bargains in group rolls because there's already a lot going on.
Yeah. I mean, maybe 1 would be interesting, but I don't know.
I mean, I'll let anybody take harm if they want to die. Like I'll just straight like you get cut up a bit in this fight is totally legit.
I will take that.
You'll take that? Okay, cool. Let's make it just minor harm. So you get like slashed, like maybe like across the arm or something. So it's a fairly minor wound, but you're definitely bleeding.
Okay, cool.
So you take an extra die for that.
Nice.
So hunt is not something I'm good at.
So you're gonna roll 2 dice and take the lesser of the 2, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was just gonna say maybe I'm not partaking in it, but if we're already
That's
rolling,
also cool. Nope, you're good. You can also stay out. If you look at your roll and you're like, this roll sucks, you can always hang back, right? Which is to say that your brothers are doing the shooting and sisters are doing the shooting, and you're scheming in the corner. You're holding back, ready to act after they do, right?
yeah.
Great. Okay, so go ahead and have everybody roll. Looks like Wester's already rolled. Orland's rolled. Gerrit.
Skirmish?
Rolling hunt.
Hunt. We're all shooting.
Yep.
We're just running into the door and just blasting.
You're getting involved in a gunfight in this apartment.
Oh, and the position is controlled.
Risky standard.
Risky.
That's a what?
There we go. Okay, cool. So the first thing is Tekla's got this, like, as you sort of open fire, right? And you're like, it's this whole like sort of Pulp Fiction-y, like people are shooting in close quarters, they're like ducking behind stuff and like maybe even reloading once or twice with these like, you know, sort of flintlocky kind of guns, right? So it's smoky and difficult. You see Tekla pull out this device. Tekla, tell us what it is that you've got with you.
It's an electroshocker, so I can like when I get a little bit closer, like 1 meter is enough, then it sends like a lightning strike out. It's a bzzzt.
Great. So I think we should tie these together, the slash and everything. So, Chet, what does your character do that saves, like, keeps Tekla from like electrocuting you all, right, with this device, but also ends up with you getting slashed across the arm?
That's very interesting. I don't know. I don't want to just shove him. That's all I can think of. I just shove him. I just shove him out, and he shoots the guys that are in front of us. And we're not. Yeah, I don't know. That's very interesting, man.
Well, it's more like Tekla is going to, the device doesn't work well, right? Or there's some problem with it. So she is like, got this device, and what do you do that saves Tekla from getting caught in the line of fire, but ends up with you getting slashed, right? Because you took that devil's bargain.
Mm-hmm. So we burst into the door, and we all just start shooting. And then Tekla steps up in front of me with his device.
Yeah.
And
her
device, yeah.
With her device. And there's a dude like running straight towards us. And I would say like maybe she's like holding it up about to get the guy, and I like put my arm out in front of it and I shoot the person right in the head.
That's great, yeah. So you and like he slashes you and you shoot him, we'll say in the shoulder, right? So he kind of falls backwards, and then you shoot him again, right? And so the lightning like burns a hole in the wall, but it doesn't like hit something that's flammable, right? Like everything seems to be under control. So you have to mark a stress for Tekla, but it looks like Orland got a success, so you're good. Right, like Orland kind of keeps his head, keeps the other guy suppressed, and as the smoke clears, right, and this is one of the places in the Blaze where we could do this as a beat by beat gunfight, or we can do it kind of as one quick roll, which we just did. As the smoke clears, both bodyguards are down, and it sounds to me like you killed at least one of them, right? Yeah, that guy's dead. So you hear the bong in the distance as the ravens start to fly from the tower, right? And
nice.
The other bodyguard who's like he's got like a wound in his side. He's kind of leaning up against the cabinet here, and you look and you see this is not an apartment that's lived in. This apartment is clearly set up by the Circle or somebody else for meets, right? And huddled kind of in the corner is the Taikrosi, who's still got like I was thinking like a metal serving tray, and it's got like a couple of bullets in it, right? As he like peeks out over the top of it, sets it down, and just kind of slouches as the four of you sort of stand tall in front of him.
Yeah.
And the only injury you seem to have is, Wester's arm, which is already bleeding kind of profusely, but doesn't seem to be a serious wound. Fraser, what are your character doing? Like everybody else was shooting, you kind of watch them all go down. What do you do? What do you say to the Tycrusy? What do you do next?
Yeah, I pictured it as them busting in, shooting, and then I, as a true douche, walk in after all of that's done, making it seem like I am the leader, even though I'm not.
The little Darth Vader look, right? Whereas all the stormtroopers have already done the shooting.
Yeah, but I'm in my like bladesy gear as well. I've shed the cloth, and I've got more of a like robe action lurker look going on, and I approach him, and I think I like take out a dagger from a sheath inside my robes, which I've machined myself, and I just look at him and I say, "You work for us now."
Great. So this is a great time for us to set up a clock. Okay. So we'll say that it's all well and good to tell this guy that he works for you, but he does work for people who are a tier 3 gang, right?
Yeah,
and like
totally.
when the local gang shows up and say, you work for us, it's like, great, yeah, sure, whatever. Like the people I work for will fucking kill me and kill everybody I know, right? So you have to really convince this guy. So I'm going to set up a clock that is a 6-segment clock. So I'm saying this is a pretty serious story beat here. And you all need to fill those segments in order to convince this guy to come over to you. Okay. Now you did just kill a bunch of folks in front of him, so I think you basically set this up so that I'm going to say you have a controlled position with greater effect here, Fraser, on this roll. Okay, that like for this first roll, you've totally taken this apartment, you've totally spooked him out. He totally thought you were coming to make a deal with him in which he had the power, and now he's in a bad spot. But we'll see how things go from here. So go ahead and build your roll.
Okay.
Is there any way that I can help?
Absolutely. You could first of all just spend a stress, right? Like you spend a stress, you give him a die. So let's let Fraser figure out what stat he's using or what action dot he's using first, and you can throw that extra die in there.
It sounds like to me like I'm commanding him.
That sounds great. Yeah. Yeah. You're not trying to convince him it's in his best interest. You're telling him this is the deal. Get on board or die. Right. And that's it. Yeah. And then you've got one die. Chet, tell us what Wester does to add to this.
I mean, I think he pulls out his second gun and he just levels it at the guy's head.
Okay, great.
That's how he helps.
Wester, you should be busy with explaining yourself why you got in my way. Everything would have been controlled with you jumping in between.
So
all right.
Tekla's like already getting her a little electric device set for round 2, right? Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Grossie's like eyes are pretty wide here. Do you want a devil's bargain, Fraser, or are you good with this?
I'll push myself.
Oh, push yourself. All right, great. Take your 2 stress and great. Yeah. So you've got a pretty solid number of dice. Let's roll them.
5.
5. Okay, cool. So you're in a controlled position, so it's the same thing as before, right? You hesitate something about this situation, like when we'll say the Tycrusy just drops the thing, like drops the metal thing, and it clanks to the ground, and he like fixes his suit and stands up, right, and looks at the 4 of you, right, and so you can withdraw from this command, try a different tact, or you can push forward with a minor consequence.
I resist him instead.
Okay, great. So you're gonna push forward, but resist the minor consequence.
Yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah.
cool. So let's
the minor consequence is him like getting his shit together, right?
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure everybody follows. So the first thing is you're saying I'm going to accept the minor consequence, but I'm going to say no to it. Meaning like between the withdraw minor consequence choice, you're taking minor consequence.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So the minor consequence is limited effect. Basically, you're going to have a limited effect because it's just the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Right? Yeah. But you're going to do something to resist that. So the way resistance works is we identify which stat resistance is. Fraser's going to roll it, and the highest number die is subtracted from 6 to say how much stress Fraser's going to mark. It's possible Fraser could roll a 6 and have 0 stress, and that'd be great. Yeah. Or Fraser could roll a 1 and end up with a whole lot of stress. So which stat seems appropriate to you for resisting?
How I wanted to resist actually was on the along with my blade, I want to have some of our product. So I was trying to like finesse him.
Yeah, that sounds cool. So basically, the the resistance going to be insight, prowess, or resolve, right? So if that makes sense of like you want to physically intimidate him, which would be kind of more prowess, like you're gonna double down on that physical intimidation, or insight might be where you say like you hold up the drug and you say like I know what really makes you tick, like you can look as tough as you want, right? Which one of those is what you're going for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really like both of them, to be honest, but since it's a resistance roll, it wouldn't really matter. Like if it was a regular roll, I'd ask you which one has greater effect.
Right. In this case, I would say you're much more physically, like you're a physically intimidating character. Like you are very lethal, right? No helping with the resistance roll. It's just on quest. Yeah. So you're much better at doubling down on that physical intimidation than you are on the insight. But he was going to remember this later, right? Like insight has consequences. These rolls have consequences beyond their mechanical effect. There's also the fictional position they leave you with down the road.
Yeah, I think I'll just double down on me drawing out my blade since I had done it already and make it solidified in the fiction.
That's perfect. Yeah. So he tries to shrug you off and you double down. So let's go ahead and roll. It's a 3 dice resistance roll, so it's pretty strong.
Okay. So I believe I'll just click prowess, no bonus dice, and it should do it. Oh yeah. A crit.
A crit.
I clear 1 stress.
Yeah, see, clear a stress. Like as you draw it, he cracks. He's like, okay. No, you don't have to hurt me. Okay. I'm more valuable to you alive than dead. Okay, so that's critical resistance means that he totally doesn't, that effect never comes to pass. Like his tough guy exterior gets cracked and we mark 3 of those 6 clocks ticks are done. Okay. Now he's already physically intimidated him. Gerrit, your character as the fellow cook and fellow chemist might also contribute to convincing him. So what do you do now that he's kind of intimidated and freaked out to finish convincing him to come work for your crew?
I need to impress him with all the knowledge I have. He's looking for a higher tier group. So I need to talk about all the arcane stuff which I can see. I'm brushing through his long hair, his white hair, and I'm talking about like what his hair means to the demons.
Yes.
And what a spirit would say when he is confronting him the next time at the Great Snake.
Yes, that's great. So I love how you sort of you're like saying to him, the people you work for are amateurs. We're the real deal, right? You're going to convince him of that. Great. So what stat are you, or what action dot are you using for
that? I think it would be good if I study him in detail, okay, so I could like understand where his weak spot is. So
that's great. So you're basically studying and pressing on that weak spot kind of instantaneously, right? Okay. So I'm going to say that is a desperate roll. And the reason is because you haven't done anything to look at this guy before. You're just trying to like peer into his mind and get his secrets, right? And have those secrets be relevant right now, right? So you're not trying to just learn something about him. You're trying to put it to use right away, okay? Now, the advantage of a desperate roll is that you get an XP just for making it. Doesn't matter if you make it or don't make it. That's an XP for you, sir. So desperate rolls are big thumbs up in Blades. You cool with that?
Very good. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you got how many dice to study to start? 2.
I have 2.
2. Yeah. Great. Okay, perfect. Cool. Does anybody want to help?
I would like to help if I can.
Yeah, Orlin, what do you do to help out here?
Well, so I have my pet mongoose named Dart with me, and I think I would get Dart to just go crawl up his leg to kind of throw him off so that it's easier for her to kind of like get through to him, sort of.
Yeah,
just creep him out.
Dart like kind of gets close and then out of nowhere the whispers on him, like touching him and like freaking him out, right? So yeah. I mean, Orlin, you could also be more aggressive. Like you could grab him and throw him into a chair, and that's how you help. And then like the mongoose crawled the whole thing, right? Like you can really make it exciting.
Yeah. I think that like. What I'd like to do is like basically like spin the barrel of my revolver or something and like just walk like around sort of behind him and then like as he's kind of watching me, he feels like a tickle on his leg as like the mongoose starts like crawling up his body, basically. So
Good.
it's more, yeah.
All right, Gerrit, you've got 3 dice. Do you want to push yourself or take a devil's bargain?
I think this is very important for me. I have to make a stand here, so I would like to push myself.
Okay, great. Mark 2 more stress. Take the 4th die, and go ahead and roll.
How do I take a 3rd and a 4th die on this roll mechanic here?
You just hit go, and then you should add 2 bonus dice, I believe.
Okay, yeah. And what is the effect level?
The effect here is going to be standard.
Standard. All right. 2 bonus dice. That sounds so good. I think you all.
So that's a critical on your desperate. That's a fantastic roll. Yeah, my players always complain that no job goes well. I will direct them to this video, sir. Okay, so as you look at him, you know, like Orlin freaks him out with this. He like falls into this chair, and you just are upon him, almost like rising from behind him, running your hands through his hair, and as you touch him, you feel a demonic presence that has approached him in the darkness. It has not quite reached him, but you see its signs all over him, in the way his hair grows on his arms, and the way his hair falls behind him, and you speak its name. Just between the two of you, no one else hears it. And he's instantly enthralled to you. He turns to you and he says, you see it. You know. You've heard it coming.
Yes. We will be a perfect team. We will work well together. No worries about the mongoose.
Yeah, he looks down, like, where did it go, right? But the circle, they'll kill me. But what will you do to protect me? And he's looking just right at you, Gerrit. He wants to know, what will you do?
We have quite some competent people also for these matters. No worries. We're well equipped. You will see. You will learn. You will understand. And you will have a happy life with us.
All right.
Right?
The circle doesn't have enough drugs right now. The supplies, the things I used to make them, they haven't brought them. What did you bring with you?
We brought the good stuff.
Excellent. Now you guys are all like loaded to the gills, right? You've used almost no gear, so the rest of it might as well just be like you put down a briefcase and there it is, all this drugs, right, ready to go. And you see him like he touches it, right, and you realize like he's already hooked on this stuff. He's already been taking it. That's why the demon reached him. And I think we just sort of like pan out from the apartment, right, as he starts to like lay it out and count it and stuff. So great. So a couple of quick questions. Number one, what do you do with these bodies? Chet, tell me, what's your plan for these bodies, these 2 dead bodyguards?
So, okay. Like, does my character understand like what needs to be done with a dead body?
Well, there's a couple options. One is you just leave them because the spirit wardens will come and cremate them, but there's a lot of evidence left behind that. Second one, he has expired, Gerrit. The second guy has, as you start to count stuff, you hear him take his last breath. You can just leave them. You can dump them somewhere. You could try to deal with them. Given where you are and your resources, I think leaving them might be the smartest move.
Yeah. Could I suggest that, well, actually the fictional positioning for this might even be my move, the Devil's Footsteps. I have a thing where I can push myself to confuse them so they mistakenly attack each other. But what I was thinking of staging it so that they killed each other, basically. Like,
yeah, that's cool. That's fine. Yeah, that makes sense. So you just leave it as like, these 2 have killed each other. You take the Taikarosi, you try to get him set up somewhere else in another place. At least that'll take the circle a few days to find him, and we go, right?
Yeah, so, like put a pistol in the guy's hand, put another pistol in the other one, yada yada.
Awesome, good. So here's what you get. You get 2 rep per score by default. Now, if the target of the score is a higher tier, you take +1 rep per tier higher. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you just fucked with the tier 3 gang, right? So that's 5 rep right off the bat. Okay, it's a very, very, very strong first job, and there will be, I'm sure, no consequences for you messing with a gang much, much, much larger than yourself. I'm sure it will work out just fine. So I'm going to mark 5 of these rep in. Now you'll notice that there are, I'm actually going to share my screen here so our viewers can see it. Cool. All right, you got 5 rep there. See the turf going the other direction? If you control turf, you basically are limiting your XP track. So every point of turf you have means you earn 1 less rep to level up your gang, right? And it's not XP, it's rep. I shouldn't confuse the two, but it means it's easier for your gang to be important when it controls more territory. Does that make sense to everybody? Right? Yeah. So that's the advantage of turf. Now, in addition to this rep, you also earn a coin reward based on the nature of this operation. I'm going to say that's 6 coin, right? So since you still have the 2 coin from the last job or from the beginning of play, I'm going to say you each take a coin and we'll put 2 coin in your vault. Cool? So everybody mark a coin down on your sheet. Then we go ahead and do heat. So here's the deal. You add +1 if it's a high profile or well-connected target. I have some bad news for you folks. It's definitely a high profile or well-connected target. The Taikarosi alchemist who supplies drugs to the tier 3 gang in 6 towers is a well-connected target. They're going to notice that he doesn't work for them anymore. You add +1 heat if the situation happened on hostile turf. Did it happen on hostile turf?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Right, because you have not paid these folks off, and you just pissed them off double. Did you? You're not at war yet. Did you kill anybody?
Little bit.
Okay. So that's 4 heat, and I think it was pretty contained. Like people heard gunshots. They will eventually call the blue coats, but like it was fairly contained. There wasn't like it didn't spill out in the streets or anything like that. The cops will come way later. Right, they're not going to come right now. So that gives you 6 heat.
Sounds like a lot.
Cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. But remember, having some heat is not a bad thing because it lets people know that you're important. You're out there doing stuff. You're getting attention. Okay. So from that, we're going to go ahead and roll our first entanglement. And the way that entanglements work is that each one is like a little part of downtime that's mine, that I control, right? That like I get to say how it comes into play. I like to roll them in secret and then move them, like just display them in the fiction. Is that cool with you guys? Yeah? Okay, awesome, cool. You don't have any wanted yet, so your wanted level is still 0. The cops, you're not really on their radar yet. You're like that new gang that everybody's kind of talking about, but only people on the street know what's up. People in power don't have any idea who you are. So I'm going to look for the lowest one and see where we are. Okay, cool.
Roll study on you, Mark.
I know, yeah. You have to know what it is. Okay, cool. You may have escaped lightly this time. But I will say this. Your reputation with the Deathland Scavengers goes up by 1. The Deathland Scavengers have heard about what you did. They are basically at war, if not a cold war, then a hot war with the Circle of the Flame, and so you get +1 status with them. And the Circle of the Flame drops to -2 status. Now, if you ever drop to -3, you go to war, meaning that like they are actively out there hunting for you. Right now, they will fuck you over if they can get their hands on you. They are actively trying to make your life difficult, but they don't want to go to war yet. They're not. They just don't think you're a big enough threat. Like those dumb kids are going to go away sooner or later. The next time you put a thorn in their side, it's on, man. Like it's on. Let's also remember that you have -2 with Ulf Ironborn, who also is on the verge of going to war with you. So that's something you might want to think about. All right, let's do downtimes. I think we have enough time to at least get our downtimes in. So does anybody have any questions about the job? Are we good?
I'm good.
Cool. Yeah, great. Okay. So first, you can take as many downtime actions as you want. Just the first 2 are free. The others you're going to pay in the following way. You can always pay with a rep. Rep is basically you saying, I'm going to do this thing, and it's not going to have any consequences because I'm going to burn through a little of my reputation. I'm going to get somebody to give me some drugs because they know who I am. I'm going to get somebody to walk away from a fight because you know who I am, right? Coin is when you raise the value of something, or you take another downtime action because you literally put coin in somebody's pockets. Okay, so you can take extra downtime actions by spending coin, either yours or the coin belonging to the gang. Finally, you can still do stuff in just regular play, right? So once we get through all our downtimes, we'll start thinking about new jobs, and those new jobs might lead you to want to do additional things. Like, for example, studying that person from the Lost, studying King Clay. That's no problem. We can take as many actions as we want. It's just these first two that are free. Okay. So what I want to do is start with Chet and just go down the list, have everybody do one, and then have everybody do another. And that gives us some variation in the fiction as we go. So Chet, do you have a good downtime action that you want to take? Let's go over the list real quick. So acquiring an asset, getting an asset for your next job. It's pretty tough when you're so low level. Nobody wants to help you. Starting a long-term project means you looking into a situation on your own. And then recovering is how you get treatment for various things. For your healing clock, reducing heat is how you get rid of some of this heat that's fallen upon you. Training is just marking XP. You get a bonus XP for resolve, which is the thing you have a special training room for. And indulging vice is where you clear stress. Now, right now, all of you are trauma 0, which means you don't have to indulge your vice. There's no penalty for not indulging your vice, but you can only clear stress by indulging it. So, Chet, what sounds good to you?
So I think I would like to. Sorry.
It's okay.
I definitely want to train.
Okay.
Because that's like straight up easy.
Yeah. Do you know what stat or what action?
Yeah,
you want to train?
I want to train my resolve.
Okay, great. So let's take a minute to talk about why the Whitethorn Manor comes with an extra resolve point. What is it that you do to train your resolve? Is it possibly dealing with your mom?
Oh my God.
Is your mom the resolve bonus that your gang has?
I think that's actually kind of awesome. Like,
okay.
we all want to ignore it, but there she is.
Yeah. Now, Gerrit, you're the only person I think who rolled a desperate action during play, so everybody else didn't earn any XP directly from that. So this is a great place to start. Let's talk about what it looks like, Wester, when you go talk to your mom.
So what I'm looking for is consort here too. So it's like I go to her and I feel like I'm like I got my head between my legs, you know?
Yeah.
Like well, here we are. We're doing well, but we could be doing better.
She just upright slaps you across the face, like just bam, right? Like you know. Did I understand that you took your little brother to kill people? Is that what you just told me?
Look, mother, we're trying to make our way here. And he's a man. He's a man. He's got his own way to he can make his own choices.
Look at me. Look at me. I want you to look at me. You're better than this. Knocking down doors, shooting people. Do you know how long that's going to last? How many times you could do that before they come for you?
Why? Look, mother. We're in this town. We're trying to make our best of it. We've got an uphill battle.
You can't win an uphill battle without friends. Now, your father and I raised you especially, to talk to people. And right now, Ulf Ironborn is in the bars telling us that the Whitethorn Gang doesn't care about Skovlanders. That you'll pay people on the street, you'll pay Tychrosi to work for you before you'll pay us.
Well, look, we're doing our best and we're looking out for the Skovs.
Yeah?
You're
looking out for the Skovs.
We do our best to look out for the Skovs.
Well, I suggest you get out there and you talk to some people. I suggest you go to those bars and you tell them that the Whitethorn Gang is as interested in Skovland freedom as it's ever been. And if Ulf Ironborn shows up, I suggest you sit down and have a beer with the man, or you're going to find yourself at the end of his rifle. This is where we live. right here in Coleridge. And she points out the window. You see the factory, the smoke, the people. We don't have a home here. We ain't gonna have a home in Six Towers.
Ulf Ironborn is a goddamn shitheel. He's got nothing to say for what it is to be a Skov.
You think people only listen to non-shitheels? That's some bad news for you. Your father was a shitheel. He stole and he conned and he took. And him and his uncle, they built this house. And right now, we're on hard times, son. And like, she kind of softens, like you can tell she really cares about you. Like, she's kind of given up on Orland. Like, to be honest, like he's just a lot of trouble. He came back kind of, and she still kind of hopes that, like, I think like she loves Tekla, loves her, like has just like, but like she's weird, right? Like she's real weird, and it's not going to happen. She thinks you could be your dad, right? So she kind of leans in and she puts a hand on her shoulder and she just says, "Listen, this family needs a father, and you're a long way off from where your father was, but you're not too far off from when he first came to this city, when he left Scotland. So get out there and meet some people. And let your brother do the shooting on his own. And keep your younger brother out of trouble." And she pours herself a drink and sits back down in front of the window to watch the people go by. Cool? Awesome. Great, cool. So mark your 2 XP into resolve. Nothing like talking to your mom to strengthen the resolve a bit. Fraser, let's go to you. What downtime action do you want?
What I would like is to go to a local bar to talk to my friend Darmit, the blue coat, to reduce some heat.
That sounds good. What's your plan? What are you gonna do? Hey, it wasn't us, right? Like, what's the plan here?
No, I think he is like a childhood friend, and I'm completely playing off of what he perceives as what I used to be instead of what I am now, and saying like somebody's going to come around to try to pin this on us, right? And the family's already fallen on hard times. If you want to see us do well, and like we're good for what's around here, right? Like,
cool. So let's start the scene, and we'll roll when we get to a point that's kind of interesting, right? So the two of you are drinking over beers. Are you a couple beers in before you bring this up, or is this like right down to business right away?
Definitely, and I'm I think I wait till he's had 3 or 4 or something like that, and I've been ordering whatever it's called when it's like looks like beer but isn't. near beer, or you had some shots that were really water, right? Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Cool. So we'll say you're at this bar, and this bar is like well known because the owner of the bar, this woman who owns the bar, has these fish that are they are light fish. Like they actually like are used to grow plants and things because there's no light, right? So they've literally genetically engineered these fish all over the city to have this like light emitting like phosphorescent skin, right? And she's got a tank of them, just one tank that she got from back in the day that she set up in the middle, and it's sort of like everybody's sort of drawn to this bar because it's set. So the chat, Tekla is asking family. Yeah, I think your family as well with everybody else. So you're all brothers and sisters, the next generation of the Whitethorn Gang. Is anybody else? Did anybody else come with you? Did you bring any of your family with you?
I can leave it open if somebody wants to come in on the action or not.
Gerrit?
I don't talk to cops.
Yeah. Orland's got a long-standing policy. Gerrit, are you in?
I would be in. Yeah, I don't know if I'm such a help.
Great. Yeah. Well, you're just out with your sister and him, and it's not a big deal, right? Like you're not out with Orland, the ex-soldier, right? Like it's just,
yeah. Well, and I'm the kind of dick that would be like, hey, I just need you to come and have some drinks. I'm the one who's not actually drinking, but they don't know that, right? I'm just like, hey, my sister's like you know, she's sociable and you're pliable after a couple drinks, and that's all I need.
That's great.
I have this perfect dresses always on. I do this recycling fashion, and like it's all of plastic wrappings all around my head. It looks very fashionable.
Yes,
it
pretty
might be
weird.
of help.
Yeah, the blue coat, couple drinks in, raises his glass to Tekla. The Tekla, you're real weird, man. Real weird. Finishes the beer and sets it down. He's actually a Crocy, right? And knows you from the academy, from maybe the Imperial City. And he had to move back home after failing out. He just wasn't up to it. Like coming back and being a blue coat was the best he was going to do. But he was supposed to be on track to be an inspector in the Imperial City. So he's kind of fallen on hard times. What is it that's made him not a great cop? Is it the drinking or is it something else?
Maybe it's because he's pliable to corruption.
So he's just naive, right? He's just like, oh, these people were so friendly. They dropped off some money and asked me not to look into something. I just didn't do it, right? But he's got that kind of like, he's not corrupt as much as he is stupid, right? So, and he's very pliable. Or did you mean that he was like actually he will take money under the table?
I don't know. Both are interesting. Maybe let's lean into the trope of him having a family that he needs to provide for, so he just needs the coin.
Cool. So he's actually straight up corrupt. Like he knows the deal. Yeah. Great. So he says he starts giving you this sob story about the kids, school, and I just don't know. It's costing a lot of money lately. It's just been very expensive.
But it's not corruption if we don't give him money. If we just give him some goods and provide him with services and so on, it's not corruption.
No, of course.
He knows that. Yeah. We're friends.
So, he gives you the sob story about his kids and the wife and the whole 9 yards, right? And he kind of hangs it out there to see what you say.
Yeah, I think that I nod along as he's talking about it, and I make sure to slur my speech at the appropriate times, so he thinks that we're in the cups as deep as each other. And I tell him that that's a terrible thing. I can't imagine what my mother would do if she couldn't provide for us boys either. Why don't you let me help you out?
Oh, you do that? That's so kind. I know you all got that big house and it's been a struggle, but that's so kind of you. And if there's anything I can ever do for you all, I would be happy to help out. You've been such upstanding members of the community since your father's death, and just people look up to you.
That's right. I think that you and we can do great things together. We're making this place a better place.
All right, great. Why don't you go ahead and give me a roll, and we'll see how explicit that needs to be for him to help you out. Right?
Okay, so heat roll is just fortune, right?
Heat roll is so you just roll your action, whatever your action is here. So this seems to me like it's probably it sounds to me like what you're doing at the moment is consorting a bit, but if you were to press it in different directions, it can be different things.
I think it's a consort, and I'll push myself so that I have a die in it.
Yeah, that sounds good. Cool.
Yeah.
I'll also give you a devil's bargain too if you want one.
Sure.
All right. So I'm gonna say he's got some needs, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him a little 4 o'clock complication where he's gonna come asking for something real.
Okay. So instead of pushing myself?
Yeah, that would be cool. That way, if you don't want to mark the stress, either way.
That sounds good to me.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then is my sister helping me?
Tekla, do you want to help out here?
Yes. I help you by getting totally drunk.
Yes. It makes the act look very real. Great. Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So I'm going to do 2 bonus die. 1. Yeah, 2.
Okay, cool. Now that's not a very good roll, right? 1 to 3. But this is different because it's downtime. So normally I would have given you a fictional position and we would talk about effect and that. This is very simple. 1 to 3 means you reduce 1 heat. 4 or 5 is 2. 6 is 3, and crit is 5. So here's the thing. If you want to spend some coin here, this is going to go from him just helping you out and, you slip a few coin in his pocket and he helps you out kind of off the books. Or it can be a real bribe, right, to really push this.
Such a sad story I have with his family. I give all my coin I have to him.
Yeah. I think I spend
1 coin.
I spend 1 coin as well to max it out.
Okay, great, cool. So that makes it 3 heat, right? So you put the coin on the table, and he like kind of snaps 2 as well. Maybe he wasn't drinking as much as he was either.
Yeah,
right?
nice.
So the murder in 6 Towers, right? People have been saying maybe it's something to do with it, but you would never do that, right?
No, it's probably Ulf, and I like lean in conspiratorially.
Yeah. Ulf. Now, I need to write this down as a criminal informant for you. So I'm gonna give you a name just in case somebody looks through the records. We'll say you're a Dr. Scope. How's that sound?
Sounds good. And I like, as he's writing it down, I roll my eyes.
He's not as clever as he thinks he is, right? But he takes the 2 coin and he just pushes them into his bag, right? And he lifts the bag up over his shoulder and he stands up a little wobbly and says, "You 2 stay out of trouble." And sort of saunters off. All right, so that cleared 3 stress from your all's sheet, or 3 heat. So you're back down to 3 heats. Cool. Okay, next up, Gerrit. What downtime would you like to pursue?
It's perfect that I could earn some extra stress so I can indulge in my vices.
Yes.
Because as I was reading that overindulging is a serious business. So
yes, it is.
To avoid that, yes.
Great. So what is your vice? Tell us about your vice.
My vice is pleasure, and I like to soak myself deep into demon sweat. So you don't have to take that too literally, but it includes like serious arcane business and ectoplasm, and I like to have my sex raw and straight into the supernatural. And so this is where I go, this is what I do, and I deeply enjoy that, and I hope I don't overindulge.
That sounds great. Why don't we just roll it, and then we'll set the whole scene and do the whole scene with the context of what it looks like.
It could very much depend on the result of the roll, yes.
Yes, go for it.
So what do I roll? It's
you could just hit the button that says Indulge Vice. You're always rolling your lowest stat. So in this case, insight or prowess, and once we see the roll, we can talk about what it looks like.
Yeah, definitely prowess. And I don't get any bonus dice. I don't want any bonus dice. And it's a 1.
Great.
So
it's very small, right? So we'll say the first thing is you can always sorry, no, for this it's done. You can make a different roll if you want to make a different roll, but you just clear the 1. So we'll say your supplier for this. Tell me where you go to get this connection. Do you just do it yourself? Like you open up a door to that demon who's influencing the drugs? Where do you go?
Well,
if anybody wants ideas, there's a nice sheet in the book on page page 299 that has a nice list of vice purveyors. If you're interested.
Well, I think there's like in the yard of Whitethorn Manor, there is a well. There's a well, like a very old-fashioned well, which goes deep down, and I climbed down that well.
That sounds good. I like it. I like it. And you talk to something down there.
And you can hear noises, but because of the echo, you can't identify what is actually going on there.
Cool. Hold on. Do a little rolling here. Yes. Yes, Gerrit. Yes. As you climb down today, it's very cold. What do you say to begin your your communion with said demons.
The snake has once rolled itself around the world, and then the grip of the snake got tighter and tighter. Humans could feel the warmth of the snake because it was lying in the sun god for too long. The warmth goes down.
You feel as you say it, right? These arms come around you, each one touching you and grabbing you, right? And behind you, you feel this thing spread its wings in the darkness, and it whispers in your ear, "You touched him." The property of another. Don't ever do that again. And it like withdraws itself from you, and you receive only the smallest pittance of relief from it as you feel it flee and leave you wanting and hungry for more.
It's getting too cold too soon. I stay there for the whole night.
Yeah, that's great. I was going to ask, do you go back up or do you stay? Yeah, you just stay, and it's just silent, right? And you feel this loss as its jealousy overcomes its relationship with you. Okay, cool. Now, you can always spend another downtime to try to do more stress, or you can spend a coin a rep. We'll find out. Let's go to Orlin. So, Orlin, what do you do with your downtime action?
So, contrary to what my mother thinks of me, Orlin does care about the scoves, and Orlin doesn't like that Ulf has such a problem with us, because Orlin honestly looks up to Ulf in many ways. And I think that I'd like to start a long-term project of some kind, either to increase our reputation with Ulf, or to gain some cohorts that are scoves to prove that we are, giving jobs to those folks, or to maybe boost our relationship with an adjacent gang like the Grinders or someone that he's friends with.
That sounds like a long-term project to win some of Ulf's favor. Like that sounds cool. So is there what do you want that to look like? What does that look like for Orlin? Like because it's your project, not the gang's project.
Yeah. So I think what first happens is I go probably down to the docks, where, because the docks area used to be a colony town of the old Skov kingdom, and I think that there are lots of folks working down there, and maybe some of Ulf's people work down there as well. So I'd like to go bring my friend Melvir, who is a physiker, a doctor. I think he was a medic that I knew in the war or something like that. I'd like to bring him and go down and meet up with a bunch of scoves and get people kind of riled up, start buying drinks for folks. Maybe if this doesn't go well for me, I can spend coin to kind of do it again or make it better. But
great. I'm just going to call this, you're just directly trying to get Ulf's attention and show that you're an okay partner, right? So I'm just going to say this is a 4-tick clock. If you can do so, we'll say that Ulf will start to want to meet with you and move some relationship along there where you might be able to do status, right? You might be able to repair this a little bit. That sounds good. So the two of you head down there. You take a look at somebody's broken thumb. You buy a few drinks. You make it clear the Whitethorn Gang has it going on, right? And that you're here for this go. You're a war hero, man. Like you fought in the war. So okay, so you have to find a trait to roll, and the trait kind of depends on what you're trying to accomplish. So what were you thinking is the kind of core here of this role?
I think that I want to get people, I want to get folks talking about us and have Ulf hear about it. So I'm trying to just make good, like you said, using my reputation as an old war hero. I'm kind of, I would talk about, I definitely want to throw in, like, at some point I get people riled up. I may be up on a table with a beer in my hand or something, and I'm shouting at people, and going on about how, like, where my family has moved in, we've been met with nothing but hostility. The Circle of Flame are a bunch of bigots, and we've seen signs everywhere telling us to leave, and we're tired of this Duskwall native bullshit. And
yeah, like
it's just
you're consorting, I think, right? Like it sounds to me like you're doing the classic consort, right? You're like winning people over. How does that sound to you?
that sounds perfect.
It's always up to you guys, right? I'm just trying to give some idea of the system, but yeah, consorting sounds perfect. And with that trait, like you can take a devil's bargain, you can take other things, right? If you're interested, or push yourself, or accept help if somebody wants to come along with you. So, for example, I know that Chet, your character might be a good one to kind of hustle a bit here if you were on Orland's side.
That could be interesting. It could also be though that Chet as a player, if you want to get on this, absolutely. But it could also be fun that your mother's giving you crap for not doing it, and I'm like the one who's actually doing it. So, like
that's great.
I go behind your back basically and don't tell anyone about it really. But also, I'm happy to bring you on if you think that would be interesting and there could be some interplay there. What do you think?
I mean, I don't think I would be there with you. So
okay, that's cool.
I think it's with you.
That's good. All right. So you already get a free die for your contact, right? So that's that, or your friend. So that's 2. If you'd like to push yourself or take a devil's bargain, you take a 3rd.
I think there's a few opportunities for devil's bargains here. I'm getting loud and a little drunk, so
yeah, I'm gonna say +1 heat. Like you're like openly talking about some of the shit you do and how you're fighting the power, and it's gonna attract some attention.
That sounds great. So this is a fortune roll.
Yeah. So no, sorry, it's actually an action roll. You're rolling your consort with 2 bonus dice.
Great. So risky standard or?
There's no positioning for it. You're going to roll the trait. 1 to 3 is 1 tick. 4 to 5 is 2 ticks.
Cool.
6 is 3 ticks, and a crit is 5 ticks.
So
if you crit here, you just clear the whole clock.
All right. So that's the devil's bargain and the contact and my 1 standard. So that's 3 total. And I have rolled a 4.
Awesome, good. So we have this scene, kind of Peaky Blinders style, right? With the singing and you getting up on the table and talking about those circle of flame fuckers. Like we're taking it to them. We're doing it for Skovlin, blah blah blah. And you clear 2 ticks of Earn Ulf's favor. Now, if you wanted to spend 2 coin, you could move that to a crit result. The first coin move it to a 6. The second coin move it to a crit. And what that is this like pretty obviously you just spread some coin around town and Ulf hears of it, right? And it's all tied together. Or you say, cool, you take this and then next downtime or with your second downtime, you can pursue a second action. Could be a totally different thing, not partying, but instead a totally different action to clear the rest of that clock.
I think I'm okay on stress, and there's not a ton of other things other than training that I'd like to do, and I only have 1 coin on my own, so I'll probably just leave it for the next action.
That sounds great. Cool. So we see word getting back to Ulf at some point, right? One of his guys kind of tilts his beer at you and drinks it, and then takes off, right? So cool. Okay, great. Chet, let's come back to you. What do you want to do with your second downtime?
So I'm going to indulge my vice.
Okay,
which
great.
Is pleasure.
Okay.
Also. So here's the thing. I'm looking at my vice purveyors. I have Madeline Teslin, the Red Lamp, which is at a brothel in Silkshore. And one of my sly friends that I decided to, have a relationship with is Nyrix, a prostitute.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see Nyrix.
Great.
At the Silkshore brothel and indulge my vice with her.
That sounds perfect. Good. So let's go ahead and make the roll to start. Sounds like a good, let's get a sense of your night right from minute 1. And then we'll see if we cut to you stumbling out into the dark, totally overwhelmed and drunk with no pants, or if it's like, hey, it's a nice quiet evening, right? So
right. So I will click indulge vice.
And you should have a bonus die from your friend or contact.
How do I do this? It's not working. All right. If I was just going to straight up roll it, what would I do? Here we go.
Yeah.
1 bonus die.
Wow. You cleared your highest die is 6. So that's a lot, right? Like you had a night, my friend. You only had 1 stress, I think.
I had 2.
2 stress? Okay, cool.
I overindulged, yes?
Yes, by a lot.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I think so the first thing is overindulgence here is up to you, right? So there's 4 options. One is you attract trouble. So basically, like, you give me the ability to roll another entanglement. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. 2, you brag about your exploits. Go ahead and throw 2 more heat on there, right? It's a little bit like what Orlin did. Orlin was kind of being clever about it. You're just straight up telling people. And then we killed this guy, and then we did this, right? Whatever. Yeah. Lost is your character vanishes for a few weeks. That's great later in the story. It's not great usually at the beginning. And then last is tapped. You do something, and that purveyor cuts you off, which means you need to find a new purveyor. So which of those options sounds like a good fit for you?
I mean, I feel like lost is cool because I'm not going to be here next week.
All right. Yeah, if you want to take it, go for it. That sounds good. Yeah.
And if I ever come back, then it'll be relevant.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, great. So what is it that Nyrix offers you that is beyond the normal kind of just hanging out with the ladies / boys / whoever you like? What is it that is leads you down this path? How do we know as the audience that you will be lost to this?
Right. I mean, this is tough because it's like, what makes them go against your family? You know, what offer does she have that makes you leave your family?
Oh, you know what? How about this? We'll say that some people have already started to hear about this, like Orlin kind of bragging about who you are and all this stuff. And the older madam who has this brothel, when you come in, she pulls you aside. She says, she's a Ruvian, so very dark skinned. She's got like piercings all over her ears and her face. And she looks at you and she says, I've heard rumor that you almost killed a Tychrosi man who works for the Circle of Flame. Is that true?
Well, it might be. Who'd you hear it from?
I heard it from him. You see, he's run up quite a bill here. If he works for you, then you've run up quite a bill here. I assume you're good for it, aren't you? The line of credit he relied on previously was extensive. I assume that if you're his employer now, you have similar means.
Well, it's possible. Huh. Certainly.
I didn't realize you were such a person. My apologies for our previous treatment of you. No need to pay up front now. Everything's on the house. Let us know when you'd like us to send the bill.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Perfect. Yeah, so he's just like hung up in this whorehouse.
That's it. Yeah. Free reign of the place, right? It's like sort of like they know who you are, or at least they think they know who you are, and they are totally happy to extend as much credit to you as you'd like.
Yep. No, that's great, man.
All right, cool.
You nailed it.
Cool. All right, so next up, Fraser.
I want to reduce heat again.
These jokesters. All right, what are you doing this time?
What I'm thinking is there must be some reports that get filed from people that take notes at these scenes. Yep. And I'm picturing of a scene and they give the reports to a clerk, perhaps. They go to file them, and I'm going to bump into that person having written a different report and swap them.
That's great. Okay, cool. So you're in like Brightstone or one of the other districts where they file paperwork and things. And maybe we could even do you bump into somebody and all the reports fall down and you just swap the one. I love it. All right, great, cool. So let's just cut right to that moment. Let's make your roll and let's see how effective you are. Then we'll have a little scene around it.
Okay. So I think that's a prowl.
Yeah, for sure. You're stalking somebody. You figure out who the person is. You're coming up behind them. Yeah, that sounds great.
Also, a thing that I forgot about for the last thing that I rolled for consort, would I have technically got a bonus die because I was doing that with a contact?
Yeah, for sure. I thought you did add in a bonus die for that. Did we forget?
I pushed myself, and then Gerrit helped me. But
Oh,
so
we
that
should have had one more die. Yeah. So do you have a person who's going to help you with this role? Maybe Telda the beggar, who's like always like bubbles in my games, right? Like the street person who like is willing to help you out for a hot meal.
Oh, but I already selected Darmit, the blue coat.
Darmit's the one that likes you. You have all of those friends.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think I might be wrong. I like it where you have all the friends. They're all people that you know that are willing to help you out. It's just that Darmit really wants to help you out, is really willing to be friendly, and tell somebody you gotta you gotta put some coin in your pocket, you gotta help her out, right? To do this.
Okay, sounds good. Maybe to hit on that we're bad people even more, maybe she's someone hooked on her drug, and I say I'll give you a free sample.
Yeah. That's great. I love it. That's good.
And so, yeah, I think she's the one that like bumps into him and collapses him or her. Yeah. And then I'm the kind stranger that helps them up after swapping the thing.
Love it. Roll it. Go for it.
Cool. So are we just going to add the bonus die to this one then instead of the previous one, or
let's just move on with this roll so we can just go forward. You've got your prowl dice plus the 1 plus 1. Yeah.
Okay, cool. 6. Sweet.
Bam. That's 3. Nicely done. Okay, cool. So as Telda bumps into this woman, she spills all the files all over, and the one you're looking for basically just slants right in front, right? And she's trying to pick them up. You just very expertly swap them. And as you move towards her, you can see that she's hitting Telda with one of the reports. Get away, right? She's dressed to the nines in this a Crocy finest, right? She's a city clerk. She's earned this position of power and privilege. And as she turns to you, she stops, and you're striking, right? You're a very striking man, and she is immediately sort of stunned by you, right? And she's looks back and forth as if you might hurt her. She's just sort of stunned by you being so close and holding reports. What do you do?
I think I stoop myself and make myself as unassuming as. Actually, I know she's elite. So actually, what I do is I make myself look like I have a handicap, so she looks down on me.
All right. So you kind of do a little play acting there.
Yeah, little play acting, bum leg to play on her sympathies.
Okay, great. Yeah, she takes the reports from you. It says, "Thank you." I'm sorry. Do I know you?
I'm nobody.
What? That doesn't seem accurate. You you're relatively finely dressed, right? You dress decently, right?
Oh. Yes. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. So what would be good? If I'm finally dressed, maybe I just say that I fall back on my academia and say that I've interned around here. But it's very kind of her that she's looked at me and remembers my face and stuff like that. I like
it. That's great. She says, thank you. My name is Adric, and I thank you for saving me from that. Would you like to have a drink, maybe?
I don't think I can get away from that. Sure.
All right, yeah. So she says, I want to thank you, right? And you can see that, maybe you even said something to Telda, right? Because you had a signal, I got it, right? It all worked out, right? And she kind of thinks you scared Telda off, right? So she says, let me meet me here tomorrow. I have to go to the. And she's kind of awkward and sort of meet cute about it, right? She's like, I have to go to the court, that building.
Nice.
right there, and like tomorrow, two right here.
Definitely, I will see you here, and I think like that's the moment that I press it into her hand, and then I like gently like put it on her hand as it comes away, kind of thing, to make her even more flustered.
That's perfect. Yeah, great. So she's kind of like she's not paying attention to which report she got, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they all kind of go back together. Perfect. Cool. That's great.
And then I think as a short little thing, the audience is like, well, how could he get the report? And then we do a flashback to when that blue coat was writing on the things, and it's like a bunch of different reports, and then below it was a piece of paper that I had, and then I like drew to sketch it out and stuff.
Cool. That sounds good. I like it. Cool. So you cleared 3 heat, right?
Yep.
So I believe that brings you down to 1, despite your brother's best intentions.
I know, they keep trying to bring us up again.
Right. Exactly. As that woman leaves, you can tell that she is very wealthy. She has some jewelry on and things that are far above what a city clerk might have. You think she might be like it's not uncommon for nobles in Akros to have their children work like up the ladder, right? Like this, you have this job here, you intern for the court, then you move up, right? Like you finish law school, whatever. This contact you've made is somebody who you think might be much wealthier than she might initially appear.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and then as we walk away, I make sure that I, Kaiser Soze away until she's around the corner, and then my leg starts walking normally, right?
Perfect. That's great. All right, Gerrit, your second downtime. What do you got?
I'm upset about the snake and what happened down there. So I think I should start a long-term project, getting things in line again. Can I collaborate with the alchemist on further developing the snake oil essence necessary, the secret source?
That sounds good.
I have good new contact there, and he has some perfect connections to the demons, and I had. Let's start a long-term project.
That sounds great. So you're trying to raise the level of your drugs, right? Is the newest thing you're working on. So I'm going to say that is a 6-tick project. It's a pretty serious project because your stuff is already pretty great, right? It's already pretty great. So this is taking it to a new level to really pierce the veil of whatever the spirit world is. So what are you doing here? What's your what trait do you want to roll on?
I was thinking that study is an occult ritual is the right thing to do, I think. So it's study.
Great. So you go out and you get like occult tomes and scrolls and all these things, right? He shows you what he knows, right? And the two of you have hours of poring over these things, and he's a little still like enthralled by you. Like it's more than just like he's terrified of what he might find, but he also must go forward, right? He must, right? So let's go ahead and make your roll and see where he is with it.
Yes, that sounds good.
So you've got 1 die for him for sure, and then you get your own dice for study, which is 2.
Yeah, so I rolled 1. I still need to roll 1 more. Is there an easy way to roll 1 dice?
You can just
hit -R 1d6.
Yeah.
But
also, I mean,
I will do that. 5.
Perfect. So cool. 6. Your 6 is there, right? So so as you're pouring over it, he starts to get really skittish, and then he says, out of nowhere, I have to show you something.
Oh. What is it?
He says, I don't know if I can trust you, but I believe you have seen the things that I have seen. I believe that I must show you this. Rolls back his sleeve, and you can see that his pale white skin has a black symbol. It seems like it's almost like it's pulsating. And he says, last night I woke up with this on my arm.
Yeah. I grab his arm.
Yeah.
before I can pull it away, and I touch it and squeeze it.
Yeah, you can see that it's like it has like a texture to it, and as you look closely at it, you see that it looks a little bit like a map.
I memorize it as good as I can.
Yes, yes.
Our long-term project has a goal.
Yes.
I think my brothers should know what I'm up to about this new level of our drug.
That sounds good. That might be a good place to begin next session. But you have a sense of this. If you saw any part of this place again, and as you look at it closely, you feel like it may be outside of the electric field. It may be to the north, to the Deathlands. It looks that way. If only you could know more. And if you tell him, and he agrees with you, like he's like, yes, I see it. And then as the two of you are looking at it, it fades, it disappears.
Okay. Oh, he needs some attachment to me. I get as close as I can to him.
Yes,
he needs to stay close to me. Yeah, we should be friends forever. It's interesting.
Yes, the two of you become almost inseparable. We'll see where that takes us next session. All right, Orland, last downtime. What are you gonna do with it?
Cool. This can be probably mostly a cinematic scene, but I think that after my night of a bit of debauchery, but also trying to inspire and talk to the people, I told a lot of people about that I was going to lead a sort of like an ancient Scovland ritual, sort of like a religious practice that maybe a lot of people have fallen out on and maybe aren't worshiping the old gods as they should. But I think while I was in the war, I kept true to my faith, and a lot of the soldiers did to help us through it. So I might actually come to quests, and just because you're like the little brother lost in your machines and stuff, I don't know if it you tell me if you would still practice this at all, but I would probably come to you and be like, little brother, it's time to learn a little more about your heritage. Or
so
something.
What downtime actually you trying to trigger? I mean, no, it sounds awesome, but like what's the downtime actually you're looking for?
Yeah, I should lead with that. What I'd like to do is I'd like to try and complete this clock. I'd like to sort of get a lot of scovs together in this area and give a demonstration that I hold true to my faith and I'm loyal to Scovland. And I'd like to actually do it in Coleridge, because the coal mine there was like the original settlement for Scovland, and that's actually why it's called Duskwall and everything. Like, I'm doing this whole thing about this was our land to begin with, and on and on and on. So
that's great. So Quest, how do you feel about getting sucked up into this ritual and religious ceremony?
I think it's really good because my pleasure is actually machining new things. So I think maybe cinematically this is what awakens that vice within me by participating in this. So I think that works.
That's great. Okay, cool. So you kind of like get everybody together. You have these torches in the night, right? And you sort of go to one of these sites that everybody knows is the old ritual site, right? And what is the core of the ritual like, Orland? Is it violent? Is it calm? What does it look like?
I think that because Scovland is a mountainous island region, there's sort of like a replica mountain of coal that's been like set up. I imagine this in some like alley or empty lot somewhere, and a lot of like dirty coal workers, and it's dark and everyone's got torches and stuff, and a lot of it is speaking and things like that. But I think that there's also something with the coal there. I just like that connection a lot.
Is it like calm or angry, fervent? Like,
I think it's a lot more calm and reverent than we normally would be. I think that it's like a strong ritual, but it's not fervent or anything.
So it's like going to church or something.
Yeah, it's a little like going to church, but it's more participatory. I think that there might be sort of like a low humming chants kind of a singing thing that happens. And,
that's cool. Yeah, that's great. So for you, what trait do you want this to roll on? Like, how do you see which action dot or actually this might be like a resistance, which is not super typical, but since you're not trying to accomplish a specific task, but it's to participate in a broad ritual, it might be a resistance instead.
Interesting. Maybe it's Tinker, and what I actually had to do was like put together this like ritual site and sort of assemble this mountain of coal that we could kind of perform and burn the sacred flame atop it or something like that. So maybe I've like put together something as part of this ritual. I can think about that a little more, but for now,
that's great. I love it. So, and in fact, your brother, who's a machinist, might have helped you with that, right? Might have helped
yeah,
you
that's what I was thinking.
to build this thing that's going to be an eternal flame or something on top of it, right? As a symbol for Skovland and for what you're trying to do in Coleridge, right? That's great. Yeah, let's do it. So you get 1 dot for the Tinker, 1 dot for your brother's help. Are you going to mark a stress?
Yeah, sure, I can help.
Cool, great. And if you had a contact or somebody that would come along as well, then that would be another one that you could grab.
Well, I did sort of establish Melvir as like a medic from the war, so I mean, it's not I'm sort of reusing the same thing.
No, that's great. That's great. We could just make Mulvir a more important character, right? So let's say it's a woman. She's kind of tall and broad, and the two of you fought together in the war. Maybe you have a kind of like vibe where what's the like Mal and Zoe vibe, right? Where you're like best friends from back in the war, right? There's no romantic real interest there, but you've been together for a really long time, right? And she was the doctor for the unit you were in. Right, and as you're getting ready to do this, she's like, so "This is your plan. You're gonna go light an eternal flame on top of a mountain of coal."
What's a little too ambitious for you?
Ulf Ironborn hates you. He doesn't like you. He's not gonna like you. I don't know what you think you're trying to accomplish here.
He hates the idea of me, and he certainly hates the face that Wester is trying to establish in this community. But just because my brother is a bit of a schemer doesn't mean that Ulf can't recognize a true Skov.
Your brother's been missing for 2 days. Last time you saw him was over at the Red Lamp. So I don't know what you think you're accomplishing, but your brother's already in enough trouble. Now you want to do this? We'll do it. I'll walk with you and carry a torch like any other Skov. But maybe we could be a little less worried about Ulf Ironborn and a little more worried about the Circle of the Flame, who apparently is this close to killing you.
Well, it's not just about Ulf. It's also about the support that we might get. There's been a lot of bigots causing a lot of shit around this city lately. And I think that if we get a little momentum behind us, just our mere identity will be enough to push our product, if you're going to look at it that way, or to build a stronger tie to the community, which is what my mama wants me to do.
She looks at Quest, and she's like,
I say give him a shot. You're always underestimating him.
very well. She lights the torch and she like goes out the door and she starts chanting in Skov to try to get people rounded up. And you all head to the mountain. Let's roll and see how many people come out.
Cool. So that is 1 bonus die from Quest's help and 1 from my my contact. I think that's probably fine.
All right, cool.
Yeah, let's do
3
it.
dice. Cool. Yeah, total is 6. That's 3. That totally ticks it down. So the Skovs come out in force, my friend. There are a number of them, right? And as you light it, you see Ulf Ironborn, big dude, wearing big coats, big beard, long hair, braided, right? He's got that kind of dwarfy Skovlander look, right? And as you come down off the mountain, you can see he's nodding his head, and he sees you come down, and in front of everybody, he says, "Come here, boy. Come here."
All right.
How close do you get to him? Do you keep your distance, or do you get right up next to him?
I get close.
He grabs you by the shoulders, and he turns to the crowd, and he says, This is a Skov. While his brother whores and drinks, this Skov for his people. This will not be forgotten." He purposefully overlooks you, Wes, as he scans the crowd. You can tell maybe he doesn't know who you are. Maybe he just doesn't give a shit about you, but Orlin is who he's focused on. We're going to cut directly to the two of you just drinking, right? Like in a bar. Like he's dragged you there. He's already had a couple of drinks. And Quest, if you want to get dragged along, that's totally cool. But he leans in real close to you, right? As we just sort of smash cut to the both of you drunk, right? And he says, "Now, my people and your family, let's be clear. It's not over. We still don't like you."
We don't need to like each other, Ulf. It's not the way it was back home, was it? We never really liked each other.
You're pushers, hawkers. Where's the dignity in that?
There's no dignity in this city to be found, Ulf. I know you keep looking for it, but you're not going to find it. You've got to play by their rules.
I'll play by my rules. And soon the city will play by my rules. In the meantime, let's say I had a job for you.
I'm interested.
All the scoves in the city. Coleridge. Coleridge is our birthright. It's not enough. You hawking ain't gonna get us there. No matter what that sister of yours can cook up in her little machined lab. Quest, are you there? Are you close by?
It's up to Matt, but I think that it would make sense that if I was like completely overlooked in it.
I think that when he grabbed me by the shoulder and you were ignored, we saw me make eye contact with you and a little bit of guilt that you were being ignored. And I think I would have tried to get you involved, but I don't know if Ulf's having it. But yeah,
like if you sit down and sit down with Quest, you're there. You have it.
Sure.
Ulf doesn't necessarily respect you, but you're there.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I'm trying to make it a family thing.
Sure.
Says, there's a scove here in Coleridge. He's been working for the bosses. He's been telling the bluecoats where we work, what we do. There's just one problem. My brother.
An Ironborn.
Oh. Yeah.
Is it a problem for me or a problem for you?
Maybe if you're unlucky, it'll be a problem for you. Right now, it's just a problem for me. And since he's my brother, very much I can do about it. You understand? And he kind of looks over at you, Quest, like, some brothers are just fuck-ups.
Nice.
I don't want him dead. Oh, I don't want him dead. But I need him to understand that he's got to get on a train and leave the city. And I can't be the one to deliver the message. Yeah, I gotta stay clean in this, you see. Clean.
Yes. Yeah. Your name might be more important than family at times.
You understand. And he puts his drink down. You're good boys. And what's coming? Well, it's gonna test you. There's a chance we can work together. Just don't let me down.
I'll take that chance.
He stands up from the table, nods to the both of you, and leaves without paying for his drink. All right, cool. I think that's a good end for today's session. We're a little over time. My apologies, but I think we're real close to rounding it off. Let's be clear about a couple things. Number one, We got to do XP real fast. Number 2, you have 2 jobs that have already kind of hit you. One is this wealthy city clerk who might lead you down a path to a job. The second is Ulf has given you a pretty clear target in his brother, who he says is ratting out scoves and doing bad things. So those are 2 jobs to put away for next session. And of course, you can go investigate other jobs. So let's be real quick and go through our XP triggers for the Hawkers. So first and foremost, you all get an XP if you have acquired product supply, executed clandestine corporate sales, or secured new territory. So you've definitely acquired new supply, I'll say, by bringing this new chemist and alchemist into your midst and basically getting his territory. So I'll give you an XP for that, but not 2. I think you've only done it 1 time. Contending with challenges above your current station? Absolutely. Yeah. I think both with this and with the Ulf thing, you've contended with 2 challenges that are above you. So that's 3 XP. Bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one. So do y'all think that you bolstered your subtle reputation in any meaningful way?
Not unless it was me taking away the heat.
I actually think that's great, which is that you did this big explosive thing, but you actually managed to keep it from getting too out of control. You're ending this session with only like 2 heat, which is like nothing, right? So I think that's great. Was there any new reputation you started to build?
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
I think we make our name an honor. We were hawks. We went in there, straight in there. We did our thing. It was more than just being subtle. It was straightforward.
Yeah, maybe like feared.
Yeah, like I think. Well, I think direct is one.
Direct,
right? In the sense,
sure.
Yeah, like you're pretty direct with Ulf. You were pretty direct with the cop. Like you're pretty, like you tell it like you see it, right? And sure. I think direct is a cool one for you all. So, all right, so that's 2 XP for that. So that brings you up to a total of 5. Did you express the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew? So I'm going to say 1 XP for just engaging the whole like Scovelander kind of thing. Was there any other essential sort of thing to your crew that you expressed?
Yeah, I think we fleshed out the dynamics of everybody. Like we saw how each brother really interacts within the family, and it was all pretty disparate.
Yeah, I thought you get a good sense of like how the crew functions as a family, like which brothers have which roles. The sister who has this kind of strange outsider role, but is essential to the crew. Like I think it all worked pretty well. So I want to see more than that in the future, but it's a good first session to get the ball rolling. So yeah, so that was straight up 7 XP. You're 3 away from leveling your crew advancement. And let's go ahead and what I'd like to do, just in the interest of time, is have you all just type up what you think you earned for your regular XP and we'll talk about it. But generally, it's like 1 or 2 XP per thing. Expressing your core beliefs is a little bit of a challenge first session while you figure out the character. But in the future, you can kind of see it. I think Orlin, for example, killed it. I mean, 2 downtime actions dedicated to repairing his relationship with Ulf was awesome. Super cool. That's the kind of thing we look for that. So you can put those XP for in any of your things, the playbook advancement or your stat advancement, whatever makes sense to you. So let's do that over email and we can kind of keep it rolling. Let's do a quick round of roses and thorns. Just, you don't have to be too in depth, but like what's one moment you liked or one thing you liked? Chet, what was one great moment for you? What was one rose for today's session?
I really liked just knocking the door down and straight up murdering the entire group of guards, and just owning that situation.
Yeah, you just liked being in it, just going for it and not worrying about the consequences as much as the immediate fiction.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good, man. Cool. Fraser, how about you? What's a rose for today?
I'll just say the developing the rhythm that we're getting into. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Good, man. Cool. Gerrit?
Yeah, I'm very thankful to all of you that I had such a smooth way into the system. So that was extremely enjoyable.
Good, good.
And the story is cool.
Yeah, it worked out. Matt, how about you?
Too many roses to list, but I loved everybody's. I feel like we got a really good sense of everybody's character in one session. Like I love the well scene. I love all the schemy stuff that was happening and the brothel scene. And I loved Mark as a fan of the weirdness. I like that you really jumped on that scene and made it super creepy and played into what Gerrit was playing at.
Yeah,
And then last thing, I thought you also did a really good job of throwing it to people who weren't involved in the scene to get their buy-in and input and stuff like that. You really did a good job of managing kind of the flow of the table, and that was really impressive and made for a really great session.
Awesome, man. Cool, good. Yeah, online is tough with something like Blades or Fate, where there's a lot of crosstalk to try to spread that spotlight around. It's tough, yeah. For me, I think my rose was this, like, there's a thing that Blades does that I haven't seen a lot of other places, which is like, we say something that's real in the system, like you have a -2 with all fire on board by the setup. Then you pursued improving that. And I have a really clear path as an MC or GM for what that looks like. It's like, you need to beat this clock, and then from that clock is a job, and that job is an opportunity to earn his favor, and that's going to translate to status. And like that whole thing really felt like I was supported as a GM, and it represented something cool in the fiction. I think it's a great example of how Blades, when it works, how it works. Right, so that was really fun tonight for me. Chet, anything that's Thorn, like I think like friction, like places you're not used to the system, stuff you want to look at in the future, that kind of thing.
That's a good question. I mean, I think like just starting out as a new Blades player, I wasn't fully aware of the options that I had.
Yeah,
and so I was kind of like building shit as we were talking.
Yeah,
it's totally fine. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe a little more explanation of the individual playbooks and whatnot as we go.
Cool. Yeah, we can talk more about this. It's definitely hard at the beginning. There's a lot of moving pieces. It feels like when I first played Burning Wheel, so much stuff going on. So like, yeah, as we do more, you kind of get into it more. So, Fraser, anything for you?
I think just the time constraint sucks with 3 hours, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Gerrit, how about you? Yeah, you're muted, man.
And I'm muted. Oh my god. No, I hate my technical issues, I was saying. So that suits my being muted. But yeah, on the system, I'm positively surprised. However, why are so many weapon options on this page? It's like, I don't like pistols. I just hate firearms. It's just not something I like. And I would play it more if all the firearms are erased.
Okay.
But that's a very personal taste thing.
Well, we can also talk about building you some cool new weapons. So let's talk about that. The system does a really good job of giving you options for that, so we can talk about it. So but yeah, it's very like a gunny, shooty, knifey setting, right? It's just a little different than typical fantasy stuff. So, Matt, how about you? Any thorns?
Not much that I can think of. I mean, I guess sometimes I know that Blades crews tend to drift from their purpose, and I'm worried that I'm not really focusing enough on the hawker aspect of things, but I'm sure that we'll get there in the future, and that's what most of the scores are going to be about. But yeah, for our first session, I think we managed it well.
Actually, so this is interesting for me, like having run a bunch of games. I actually don't think that's what most scores are about. That's what's interesting, is that your base thing, like you're a hawker, right, is the background to all the story we're going to have, which means that the majority of your scores may not be hawker scores, because we're assuming that your people are moving product and doing things in the background. What's interesting is you may be killing Ulf's brother. That's the interesting job. So what's cool about it is each of the playbooks is a way of thinking about your shadows, you steal stuff, but maybe most of your stories are actually about this particular gang you're at war with, right? So like, don't worry too much about getting off track. It's my job to like put challenges in front of you where I'm like, you guys really have to resolve this hawker situation, because it's now gotten explosive or whatever, right? Just pursue the jobs you think are interesting, and we will chart a path from there. And as we go, we might find some other crews have useful tools that you might want to co-opt, right? That's it. On the second, Fraser, it's tough. I maybe for first session would want to do a book 4 hours flat out, because we got a lot to do. Next session will be really easy for us to be like, cool, let's talk about some jobs. Let's do a downtime or two. Let's do the jobs. Let's do our downtimes, and we're done for the day. And that'll be a little easier to keep us moving after we've already done character creation with most folks. So, but thank you very much. Really great first session. Super excited about this. And just send an email to the group with your XP triggers, and we'll chat. So,
super great. That being said, Mark, I think
awesome.
Like your ability to just build off of what we wanted to do was very incredible, and kind of improving off what we wanted is awesome.
Awesome, man. Good. Well, you guys gave me good stuff. It's what I love about this game is that it's like, tell me about you. You're like, oh, I consort with demons and wells in our house. Done. Like, it was easy to do, right? So thanks for contributing good stuff, man.
Very cool, man.